Hello, everybody, and welcome to Geeking Out at the Tower podcast. I'm your host, Andrew, and today I'm joined by
Wendel,
Keith,
Kevin,
Seb, Peter.
So our main topic today is going to be a quick-ish, but, decent review of the movie The Imitation Game, starring Benedict Cumberbatch. But before that, let's get into the massive amount of news that happened this week. The first news piece that we're going to talk about is a Canadian event that happens once a year. I forget what the actual day is. I think it's January 28th. I think it's January 28th.
Yeah.
And it's called Bell Let's Talk Day. It's a day where you're supposed to basically talk about mental illnesses and how they've affected you and how they've affected people in your family members and friends and things like that. And essentially what Bell does is for every long distance phone call made by their subscribers,
long distance phone call,
retweets,
retweets, like anytime you use their mobile service,
and you use the hashtag Let's Talk Day,
yeah.
they will give a certain amount of money.
5 cents.
It's varying depending on what the service was. They'll give money towards mental health initiatives to help spread awareness and find treatments in the future. So this year they made they donated over $6 million.
I think they made $6 million, but then the other number was the total amount they gave.
No. That's since they started the initiative.
Oh, okay. Excuse me.
And so they donated about over $6 million to the initiatives, I think, this year, and since this initiative has started, they've donated about $73 million towards mental health illness awareness.
I think last year they did better, though.
It's possible, but last year they also had a Olympic athlete pushing it who has also dealt with mental issues in her past. But this one wasn't as pushed as much as it has been in the past.
So the last $6 million.
Still, yeah.
I think they did have her going to schools and stuff and talking, but I think because she's I guess when she won her medal, that was when she was hot and everyone wanted to talk to her. Of course. So that's kind of waned a little bit. But they also had other people talking about it. They had Howie Mandel, obviously.
Well, they have a lot of people talking about it.
Yeah, Howie Mandel is mentally ill.
But I think it's like a touching thing, right?
Yes,
massive germaphobe.
Yeah, exactly. In sad news, in Canada, Coca-Cola is changing its recipe by, I think, reducing 8% sugar in their recipe so that it tastes more like the rest of the world. And to that I say, boo on you, Coke.
More like Pepsi.
I like Pepsi too, so I don't care.
I do too.
I can't talk to you anymore.
I don't. The only reason Andrew is talking to me and Peter is because we're doing this podcast. Otherwise, the rest of the year he's not talking to us.
Yes, he's
God, no. You Coke lovers? Ugh, how could you?
So you like cocaine, Andrew?
Oh my God, yes. Cocaine is the best. It's so good. Anyway, since this train is derailed, Coca-Cola changing its recipe, I do not agree. I know some people don't care.
Like me.
I don't.
Like most of the population.
Everyone present, except for Andrew.
Like the rest of the world.
Well, you know what? You all can go F yourself. Just putting that out there.
Haven't you had Coke everywhere else and you never noticed? I don't know, it just tastes a bit.
I've had it in the U.S. and it tastes not great.
The one in the U.S. is awful, and it's because they use
And I've had Mexican Coke. In very sad news actually, Monty Oum passes away at the age of 33. A lot of you might know Monty Oum from his creations on the internet like Haloid or Dead Fantasy, and most recently he did 2 seasons of the anime-ish show called Ruby that was on Crunchyroll and recently got a DVD release. And
did he not work?
I never heard about this guy or any of his work.
But wait,
he's pretty much
Red
part of the
versus Blue?
Rooster Teeth team.
Yeah, well, that's now, but before he joined the Rooster Teeth team, he did Haloid, which was a Metroid and Master Chief fighting. So Samus versus Master Chief. And then after that, he did Dead Fantasy, where he took the characters from Dead or Alive, and the characters from Final Fantasy / Kingdom Hearts, and basically made them face off against each other.
So he's like a YouTube star.
Yeah, you can sort of say that.
YouTube stars are up.
Yeah, he was like the hot thing to like nerds and geeks for like a
But wait,
little bit.
he was also he didn't work on Red versus Blue?
Yeah. He did some animation work on that, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
My condolences to his family, but I don't really know who this is.
Okay, well, that wasn't for you. Just putting that out there.
I'm sorry, guys.
So our thoughts and prayers are with the Oum family and friends.
Yeah.
So he will be missed, and he was a great talent.
Absolutely.
In, I guess, Netflix original series news, David Tennant from Doctor Who fame, as well as, classically trained Shakespearean theater actor, has been cast as the Purple Man in Marvel's aka Jessica Jones, which is going to be one of the Netflix series coming, I think, towards the end of this year.
Yeah, it's coming out around late 2015. That's their target date.
Yes.
So he's going to be like a Grimace type character,
He's
right?
going to be the bad guy. guy.
Yeah, he's
one of the
main bad guy in that show.
So like Grimace.
So Pete, you know a bit about Purple Man. Can you explain a bit about what his kind of character is?
Well, Purple Man started out in the Daredevil comics, but he was like a Z-list villain. But it wasn't until like a decade ago when the Brian Michael Bendis used him in the Jessica Jones Max series Alias, and he made Purple Man into a really evil character. His main power is he can control people with his voice. That's like his main basic power, and he's also covered in purple.
Interesting.
Okay.
I think David Tennant will have a good time playing that character. We all know how he likes to talk.
Is there like, an explanation as to why he's purple? Like, is it similar to like
Like in the origin story, he fell into like purple ooze.
No, I thought he was born purple.
No, it's basically like the
born
Joker's
green.
origin from the first Batman movie.
Oh, wow.
it's really
So
very
purple
similar.
ooze it is.
Wow, I hate how Sebastian does that sometimes. He'll just throw out some random shit and it'll actually be right.
Yeah.
He's no Ivan Ooze, though.
And
you
he got
lose.
dopes and chemicals, and his whole body and his hair is like purple. So
Okay,
Does
interesting.
Purple Man show up in the Earth's Mightiest Heroes Avengers cartoon show?
yeah, he did in the season 2, I think, and he was the one that made them evil and controlled Iron Man.
Okay, I think I vaguely know who that is.
Okay. So, in casting news for X-Men Apocalypse, which I think we just missed out on talking about last week, 3 people have been cast to play the younger versions of Jean Grey, Cyclops, and Storm.
Sansa Stark.
Yes, so the first person is Sophie Turner, who's going to be replacing, I guess, or not exactly replacing, but will be playing the role of young Jean Grey. Sophie Turner,
Yep.
who, as a lot of people know her from, Sansa Stark from Game of Thrones. Then we have Ty Sheridan, who I don't know what I've seen him in.
He was in the Tree of Life in Mud.
Yeah.
Okay. And he's
also
going to
in something else with Nicolas Cage, apparently.
Yeah, he's doing
actually
another movie with him coming out
No, he's
later
a very
this year.
he's a very talented actor.
Okay, so he's going to be playing young Cyclops. And then we have Alexandra Shipp, also I don't know where she's from. who
Oh,
will be
she's Wendel might notice also. She played Aaliyah in that Aaliyah TV movie,
Oh, yes,
and she
yes,
was in the one episode of Ray Donovan. Sorry.
I think she's
Isn't she a recurring actor in another TV show?
CW
Yeah,
show,
she's
like
doing a
Pretty Little
pilot, I
Liars
think.
or something.
It's for like maybe a Tyler Perry show.
I don't know.
God, poor girl. Alright, so she will be taking on young Storm. There has been some controversy about her being too light-skinned to play Storm.
Oh,
but
wow.
Oh, God.
You know what? If black people don't want a light-skinned black person, we should just replace Storm. with a
yeah,
white
that's
person.
it.
You know?
No, it's just
It's a
Let
very
it really
black
hate for a
person thing.
reason.
I think Emma Stone should play Storm.
Yes, I believe that.
Wow, way to whitewash all the black parts.
Well, what? They're screaming because she's like
I
light-skinned.
let
Sorry.
the guy play Kingpin and he was not white, so now we can let a white person play
Michael
Storm.
Clark Duncan.
Michael Clark Duncan was a great Kingpin.
Yes.
I
be
said,
very honest,
yeah,
yeah.
he was a good
He's a good
So
Kingpin
Emma
in a
Stone
shitty
might
movie.
be a good Storm.
It's like
Okay.
if you
I thought Keith was going to say, yeah, get Denzel to play Storm.
No, that's not it.
I wouldn't-
Everyone should be saying it should be Idris Elba. That's the new it guy to go to. He's the new go-to guy. Everyone's like, Idris Elba.
what
Well, I want Idris Elba to play
what about-
Colossus.
Colossus is Russian!
Yeah, so we're changing races.
You've never
here.
seen a black Russian?
I have in anime.
No,
And it's also
I
a
only
drink.
drink white Russians.
I said that.
God.
Anyways,
the
I don't
black
see
Russian
the
is with
complaint.
chocolate
She
milk.
seems like a perfectly fine actress to
Just
play
saying.
Storm.
Alright, so,
But
yeah.
that's coming from a super privileged white dude.
I would have liked to see Lupita Nyong'o play Storm personally, but you know,
Or the actor in
because you know she's actually
12
African,
Years a Slave.
or just her name's African.
Wasn't that
Just good
Lupita
enough.
Nyong'o?
No, I'm talking about the guy.
Oh.
Are you talking about Michael form? He was in Kinky Boots.
Or the guy that
He was
plays.
great.
Why don't you get?
Jimon
You're just
Hansu?
gonna name people
Does he
like.
play in Martin Luther King in Selma?
No,
No, that's
that's
somebody else. I forgot
If
his
you're just
name.
gonna name like people, why don't you say
Well, I'm
the
not naming them because I don't remember their names.
Why don't you say the guy from that Sean? Not the boat captain guy that won an award,
Oh, yeah.
the limo driver guy.
No.
Phillips.
I am the captain now.
Anyway, Kevin, your thoughts on this?
He doesn't care.
I'm speechless after all the conversations.
Okay.
Speechless after all the racism.
Pete, Peter, any comments you want to make?
The only thing I could say, the casting choices for all these three characters are all good, so I'm expecting a great movie next year.
Same here. And if Days of Future Past was any indication, it looks like it could be really good.
I don't know. I'm gonna get a lot of hate mail for this, but the girl that plays in Game of Thrones,
We don't have enough viewers.
I don't think she. I haven't seen her really act so far, so I'm a little concerned about her playing Jean Grey.
It's not
Well,
her
the last
fault.
season of Game of Thrones, her character was really strong.
Yeah.
The thing is, Sansa Stark as a character in the books doesn't develop until really late.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
right now that's all I've seen her from, and I have concerns. But I'm not saying change it because I'm sure she's.
I think she can do it.
perfectly able.
And it's not like Jean Grey is
has
that
much attitude.
is that
She's
very
very playful.
diverse in a range of emotions as a role.
Seriously,
To be honest,
she's very one-dimensional compared to Storm.
She's no Emma Frost.
She's no Emma Stone.
In Singer We Trust.
Yes, alright. And in other casting news, Ghostbusters 3 has been going for an all-female cast, and it's been revealed who they are in talks to get. So first up, we have Kristen Wiig, as you've seen in Bridesmaid, and also a former SNL alum.
Don't know her.
We have Melissa McCarthy, who you've seen in Identity Thief, The
Something in
Heat.
Molly? Yeah,
Mike and Molly is her
and
TV
Oh,
show.
I don't like her. Next.
Yeah, then we have Kate McKinnon and Leslie Jones, both from SNL, currently on
I don't
SNL.
know
Yes,
them.
Leslie Jones was in top 5.
I want to say that both of the two girls from SNL, like the last two, they're really good.
Yes, I actually.
Really good.
My only issue with this casting
McCarthy.
is Melissa McCarthy, because I'm afraid they're gonna make her do
Fat jokes.
that same
Silly
as Melissa McCarthy shtick that's just tired.
She has there's a trailer out for a new movie where she's a part of the CIA, and she actually seems pretty interesting in that. Like, maybe they might be lightly doing the fat girl thing, but they're working it a different
Anyway,
angle.
the only way the fat girl thing is going to work out is halfway through the movie, Melissa McCarthy turns to Slimer.
God.
Oh my god. Okay, so,
Emma Stone plays Slimer.
so Keith is fat shaming now, right?
Okay, I just have a question though. What's the direction with the movie now with having an all-female cast? Like, how does that
It's the next generation.
Do they have?
It's a reboot, technically.
It's soft reboot.
Like, from my understanding, from what I heard somewhere else, was that it's a alternate universe / reboot. Like, some of the old characters will pop up, but like as cameos.
Yeah.
But it's like it's not in the same universe, from what I'm hearing.
No. Well, that's what I'm hearing. Yeah, it's like a soft reboot, but kind of is a reboot, kind of isn't kind of thing going around. Kristen Wiig.
Then I'm a little worried about how the movie's going to be, because especially like Ghostbusters 1 and 2, they're iconic. We remember it. The songs are strong. The characters are strong. And now it's going to be a sort of reboot, but not.
You know, give him a
I don't
chance.
remember the second that much because it was pretty crappy.
It was basically the first one over again.
Yeah.
This is pretty much Ghostbusters 4, because we all know Ghostbusters 3 is the actual
a video game
that came out a few years ago.
Yes, which is really good.
That is so true, actually.
But what about the IDW comics? Are those any good?
They're probably taking place in the cartoon universe, but they could use the IDW comics as a main source for this movie.
I doubt it. It's by the guy who did Bridesmaids. I don't know what they're gonna do.
Yeah, that's,
I like Bridesmaids.
I like the idea of a female cast. Actually, what I would have preferred is actually maybe a more like a mix
like
them like
Ghostbusters.
I say,
Exactly.
I say to give him a chance, because then you could use this movie to argue for any other future changes.
I know, but if it's gonna be really bad, it's gonna be
Then women will
then-
never have a
so
role
what?
Then
in
they're gonna
Hollywood
blame it
again.
because it is an all-female cast.
Well, that's because they're bigots.
I don't think that's.
But if it does good, think
Then-
of how well it'll be to improve the roles of
It
women
depends on
in
how it
Hollywood.
does good. Because if it does good, but completely changes what a Ghostbusters movie is like,
Yeah.
then is that what you really want?
Let's be honest, this is not going to be marketed towards the people that like Ghostbusters. It's going to be marketed towards the little kids.
No, it's going to be marketed towards the people that like Bridesmaids, basically. If you're going to get the same creative team as Bridesmaids,
but a lot of people like
that's your
Bridesmaids.
selling point to anybody that's going to be investing in this movie.
Bridesmaids was finally fun for everyone.
No, it was
I'll be interested to see what the
Yes,
trailer
because
has to
kids-
offer, and then go from there.
because kids need to know about bleached assholes.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Dude,
Well, I remember last year Dan Aykroyd said he wanted to do like a Marvel style with the Ghostbusters franchise, like a whole shared universe. I don't know if that's going to be implemented in this movie or not, but I'll just wait and see.
highly unlikely.
Dan Aykroyd says a lot of things.
You have to remember, he's
He's
high on Crystal
crazy.
Skull.
So let's get into some trailer news. So the first trailer we're going to talk about is Ted 2. That trailer just came out, I think, earlier or last week.
Yeah.
And it basically, Ted's getting married, and he wants to try and have a kid through in vitro fertilization.
Sure.
And And
you do.
And they won't let him because they have to prove that he is
A real human.
A person.
a person.
Human, yeah.
Yeah, or alive. No, he has to prove that he's alive, not a human, but he has to prove that he's alive. They go to a lawyer who is played by
Amanda Seyfried.
Seyfried.
Sorry.
Yeah, Amanda Seyfried. And it's gonna be,
The girl from Mamma Mia.
yes, actually, the girl from Mamma Mia, and a bunch of other things. Veronica Mars also.
Oh yeah, it's true.
Yeah, she's the dead girl in
best
Veronica
friend,
Mars.
yeah.
I think the first Ted movie is going to be just a bunch of random cutaway jokes, but with a decent overall or arcing story. And I'm looking forward to it actually because I just recently saw Ted, the first Ted, a few 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Just recently?
Yeah.
I
For
still
the
didn't
first
see it
time.
yet.
It's really funny.
I
And
know it is, but I
it's
still
funny.
haven't seen
There's some stupid moments,
Yes.
but it's a really good movie. A lot better than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I gotta watch it too. A lot of people have said how good it is, and I'm just like, I keep forgetting.
One thing I find is really interesting about this movie.
Is it have Patrick Stewart narrating again?
Oh, they do. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
they do.
Oh, that's who it was.
No,
And
no,
Morgan
but
Freeman's in it.
Oh
Yes.
yeah, no. They make a joke about Samuel Jackson, and then Morgan Freeman's in it for no reason. It hurts my head a bit, but it's very meta. But no, the thing that interests me is that from what I remember, what people said about the first movie, they bring up that Ted's alive. Why is he alive?
No, it's
Gloss over. Don't they gloss over it?
No,
They
it's a
don't
Christmas
explain.
miracle.
Yeah, they just say that he made a wish and Ted's alive.
And it happened, but they don't
Christmas,
explain why, how, and it just. And now it's like, prove it.
Yeah.
Now this movie's like, prove it, and that's the whole
Prove
point.
he's alive.
Mondays, grrr. That was my favorite part of the trailer.
Yeah. Wait, have you seen Ted?
Yes.
And you enjoyed the first one?
I did enjoy the first one.
And are you looking forward to the second one?
I am.
Okay, cool.
It's a shame Joel McHale's not going to be there because he died from Lou Gehrig's disease.
Oh God.
Downer sad.
What?
Way to spoil it. Anyway,
Why'd you spoil it?
he's still pretty funny in the movie.
I enjoyed the first movie, Thunder Buddies for Life, so I can't wait for the second movie.
Yeah.
I know that stuff.
Oh man, I'm really looking forward to it. And in, I guess, more Power Rangers-ish news, concept design, a concept trailer, one of those trailers they put out to work on a concept to see if they can try to shop the thing around, a project around, was leaked for a not a live action, but a 3D animated Power Rangers movie. And
As long as the Megazord at the end is made by
Nope.
that's just like
nope, the Megazord is completely different.
boom.
Yeah, it's very
Yep.
different.
Also, it's not taking the Mighty Morphin
No,
era?
it was a concept trailer,
Okay.
right? So they were trying to do their own thing as well. So how they call it is also very kind of different. The action was pretty decent, but my only problem with the trailer is that
It's magic.
no, it was CG. It didn't feel right because
Yeah.
it was I feel like
it's supposed to be a guy in a costume fighting
Yeah,
a
and
monster.
Like, I mean, you could get that down right, but I did enjoy the fact that, when they're doing their little different powers and stuff, you'd see the animals flying off of them and stuff like that. I thought that was, a nice, different way of doing the fighting. So, and, I kind of enjoyed that aspect of it.
Yeah, I liked a lot of the concepts they brought up as well. The problem is, it's I feel like a part of its charm is the fact that it was guys in suits trying to do things.
Like I said about the first Ninja Turtles movie, how you had the new CG live action one.
Yeah.
I just felt like
They
it's
weren't
taking away
there.
that little
Yeah.
charm of it.
If they can get the guy who did most of all the music from the actual Power Rangers series, I think it'd be worth it.
You mean the guy that did the Saban
All
version
of
of it?
them. All of them.
Well, this was done during the Disney era. This concept came out during the Disney era,
Oh, wow.
so that's why they never actually made it. Because before they could even put it into motion, Disney sold away Power Rangers because it wasn't doing anything for them.
Yeah.
And Saban bought them back up. And so now there's a live action movie coming out. I'm actually looking forward to that. I know it's still going to be a lot of CG, but at least it's live action, and I think that's how it works. Because
Hopefully.
I think a lot of the, and I was talking about this with Peter, is that a lot of the fun parts of it is, how would I put it? The crazy camera angles, the silliness from that whole entire thing. Even if you go back and look at the two movies that they've already made,
Yeah,
even when they have more of a budget, it's still very campy and still very silly, even with the CG in it. So I'm looking forward to it a bit.
Hopefully, it's a remake of the Ivan Ooze saga.
That thing was awful.
No.
Awfully good.
Sorry, no. The Turbo movie was even worse.
You know,
I'll take that back.
all the kids getting high on ooze.
Anyway.
Don't do drug, guys.
And the big trailer for today that we're going to discuss is the Fantastic Four trailer, actually, or teaser trailer, was actually released. And this was funny because this was released after we recorded last week's episode. It just came out like legit the morning after.
Yeah.
And it just kind of appeared, and everyone was just like, wait, what? So this is actually happening? Because when you think about it, you haven't heard anything about this movie.
Well, no, you heard about a lot of problems in set because someone's supposed to be drunk.
Well, all you heard about it was
It could be
casting.
rumors, technically.
Yeah, it is.
I remember we had a picture of the Fantastic Four cast, the members, all taking a picture together saying like, oh, we just wrapped shooting the movie. And that was the only thing I heard about it. Nothing from the actual production side.
What,
Fox, or
did you
anything
hear
like that.
about Dr. Doom being a hacker and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, we all
But
heard about that.
I mean, a lot of people are getting mad about that, but it's just like, didn't anyone read Ultimate Avengers where he wasn't the leader of Latveria, blah, 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 blah?
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Yeah, they're obviously cribbing a lot from the Ultimate Fantastic Four, it seems.
which is the smarter thing to do.
My only... Okay, so have we all seen the trailer?
I saw the trailer
yes.
and it really was like, oh man.
No, I like it because it's a darker, grittier version. And, Fantastic Four always had the potential to be more or less horror-like because, it's pretty... Like, someone explained it better, okay? But, it has the potential to be more like a horror story, just the way, that they become, superheroes and all that.
Yeah, they do
Yeah.
push it on that side a lot.
No. I want to say, horror? That is the last thing I thought of the Fantastic Four because their power set is just ridiculous in general, so...
But I remember I was watching someone break down the trailer, and they say there's a scene where you see the thing coming to form.
Yeah.
But it's almost like a pupa kind of thing. Like
Yeah, he's emerging from a cocoon,
he's emerging from a cocoon kind of thing. So I kind of see that horror aspect, like The Fly or something like
Yeah,
that.
it's always had that potential. It was just never explored that way.
Trank said recently he was mainly influenced by Cronenberg's Scanners and The Fly,
There
sorry.
you go.
Pretty much just going for that body horror type.
Because when you do read or watch anybody's interpretation of the Fantastic Four, when they first get their powers, they're not always like, "Yay, woo, I got powers." They're always like, "Oh my god, what the hell's going on?"
Yeah, Johnny,
they freak out
Johnny
for a bit.
Storm, oh my god, I'm on fire.
Yeah,
What's
they
going
freak
on?
out for quite a little bit. It's not over long and dramatic, but they do freak out for a good little bit.
I'm not gonna say those first live action movies were good by any stretch.
No,
but they do deal with that. I think
get
in
it.
a very at least comical yet very realistic way. Everyone's kind of dealing with their powers, but yeah.
I will say this: I do hope it does well, and I hope they do a proper sequel, and how grand they can get with the storyline of Fantastic Four. Because then it'd be neat to see the Silver Surfer come back, and who else, and Galactus. I think
I'm
it'd be
pretty
amazing.
sure Josh Trank is not bringing Galactus or the Silver Surfer just because of how inherently silly Galactus is.
Yeah.
In
And
just
how
like
stupid
design.
Silver Surfer
It's
is.
really tough to do.
Yeah.
If you had to get back in a live
They
action.
redesign a lot of stuff. All the time.
I mean, I could see them doing Silver Surfer. That's not too bad. You don't have to
Fox
immediately bring
wants,
Galactus.
sorry, Wendell. Fox wants to do their own shared universe with FF and X-Men. So that idea is not going to come for another few years. That's their goal. They want to do their own shared universe.
And anyways, if Fantastic Four bombs, it's the death of it.
Which
Yeah,
is sad.
sure.
I don't think it's
you
gonna
say
bomb.
that, but how many times have things bombed and it's still just
No, it's just because Marvel.
seems to be coming back?
Well,
It's because Marvel has nothing to do with Fantastic Four anymore.
Well, to quote Kevin Smith in Hollywood, you don't fail downwards, you fail up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a rumor going on. Terry Crews was on Reddit a couple days ago, and he admitted that he wanted to play Silver Surfer.
I'd watch it.
He'd be the buffest Silver Surfer ever.
That'd be a little bit weird. I don't think I know much surfers that are that buff, to be very honest.
Could you imagine?
And I honestly, I could have seen him being Cage to be Power Man instead for the
Oh yeah.
Netflix show.
Yeah, Netflix
It's
stuff.
you can pull off the hardcore, I'm dead serious, and you can pull off the comedy.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah.
Actually, I always thought they were going to make a Luke Cage, Iron Fist, a combined show, but I didn't know they were getting their own separate shows. But that's another discussion.
I think they'll do crossovers and stuff like that.
It's possible.
And they'll
We'll
play
see.
off each other.
Well, that's what the whole movie's about.
Yeah.
So we'll see. You like the trailer, Wendell?
I liked the trailer. I liked what I saw. They're changing the tone completely because we
Yeah,
already
it's-
had two very lighthearted, campy,
It's
goofy things.
darker, grittier. I like it.
I'm interested to see what happens.
I like the trailer. I think it was cool. I don't know. No one's talking about how Johnny Cage was black, but
Yeah, because it's not an issue.
Johnny Cage.
It's not
Johnny Storm.
Johnny Storm.
It's a non-issue.
But it's the point.
It's not
the point
an
that
issue. It's not even an
Storm is an issue because she's half not.
That was an
black.
issue way back when it first was announced that because he was black and that Sue was white.
Yeah, but I mean,
They
in this,
explained it away as adopted
I mean,
siblings.
to be very honest, in this day and age, there's so much mixed families. There's sometimes
but I'm
great,
saying-
pigment colors skip generations.
Honestly,
Like,
I would have liked it
like,
if
not
they
too
made them
long-
both black, and then her and Reed would be an interracial relationship.
Yeah.
I would have preferred that
I would like to
potentially.
I would like to see
Maybe
that
Johnny
be the big
Storm
issue.
and Reed are going to be in an interracial relationship. Also, you never know.
Like I
They might
was,
make him gay.
I'm just saying it's weird
They won't.
that there's Storm is being played by a girl that's not the
As black.
blackest as they would like, but then as soon as they make a character that's traditionally white, as far as I know,
No,
black,
No, there was a huge
There's
stink about him being.
I didn't hear any stink.
It's because it
you
was
don't
over a
pay
year
attention
ago.
to any of it.
It was a year ago.
I just remember the stink over Doctor Doom being a hacker.
Yeah, that was also dumb.
But no, there was a lot of people that like both black and white that were kind of like, why is Johnny Storm black? But I mean, in this day and age, people are adopting kids. People come from mixed race families. Like, I don't.
And to be
whatever.
honest, I'm glad that a lot of movies and producers and all that are doing stuff like that because it needs to be done. Otherwise, we're going to have too much still typecasting. We're going to have too much like, oh, this person can only do this role. And I do like that this is opening up
And
this
to
way.
be very honest, like if they said, okay, fine, we'll take all these other black characters and give them a movie, people are gonna be like, oh, it's a black movie. It was like, no, it's a superhero. No, but there's all these black, and it's like, you can't. People are just gonna complain either way. You
Well,
really
people
can't
complain
win.
all the time, so
Yeah.
you
Anyways,
can't please
the
everyone.
preview made it look really interesting, and I'm happy to see it.
I liked it. It's interesting. I still have bad taste in my mouth from all the other Fantastic Four movies, but if it comes out, I'll probably definitely take a look.
I already said I really enjoyed it because just of the feel of the trailer, you know, how dark it was, and like, you know, I like that they're looking at it through a different direction, you know, instead of like the other two movies that were pretty garbage.
I'm looking forward to check out this movie.
I am also looking forward to see this movie. I was looking forward to seeing it before even the trailer. It's just before this, I didn't even know if it was actually happening still. The only issue I have is that they're going like full CG for the thing, so I don't know how that's going to come out because I actually did like the costume from
Oh god, it was so horrible.
the Fantastic Four movies because it felt like it fell in that whole cartoony comic book style that they were kind of going for, that very colorfulness. This one, it's darker, so I'm curious to see if they're going like, because he looks a lot thinner. He doesn't look as hulky and top heavy and bulky from that, and it looks like they designed him more like a Groot than an actual, more of a Hulk that he kind of is supposed to be an analog for to some extent. But other than that, I'm actually looking forward to the movie
He
greatly.
looks less like a Graveler.
But you mean a golem?
Now he looks more Golem-ish because it's more smooth.
I guess he was always. I guess he's more of a Machop. No, sorry, Machoke.
Yeah, he's more Machoke.
Well, actually, no, Machamp. Machamp is the really top heavy one because he has the
yeah.
4 arms.
If you had the Matchup like fused with a Graveler, I think
That's what the thing is. That actually sounds about correct. All right.
Nailed it.
Any other quick news anyone would like to bring up?
Very quickly, Magic the Gathering has announced that one of their main characters is transgendered, and people are freaking out. I don't know why.
Well, because
I don't know why
can't stand
either,
it.
but it's a card.
Nerds.
It's a card game. People relax. It is a card game with not that. Well, it could have a potentially deep mythos,
It
but
does.
not many people really care about the mythos of Magic the Gathering.
Aren't the planeswalkers relatively like kind of gods? Kind of? Aren't they
Kind
gods?
of. It's just one of their new generals, Alesha. She who smiles at death.
But
With the
I'll
name
applaud them on doing
transgendered.
that. I applaud them on doing that, though.
Yeah.
That is something that they have to put it out there. But I don't think people should get as crazy up in arms and like this because it's also a card at the end of the day. So I'm not trying to trivialize it, but I'm just saying people shouldn't get crazy.
But I'm glad a lot
it's one step.
more of this is getting pushed out because then if it's out more, then people are going to have it's going to become less of a problem because people are going to be getting used to it. It's going to be on.
Gotta talk about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So
they'll talk about it.
So no, I'm fine with people being upset with it, and then they're later going to realize that it's like, oh, it's a non-issue, and then it'll be fine.
But what
should
do I
be a
say to my
non-issue.
children? You get over yourself and you explain it to them.
And you get
just
your
look
children
it up on the
vaccinated
internet.
also. Get vaccinated.
Anything else?
Carrie Ann Moss is joining the Jessica Jones Netflix show.
That's
and
good
Mila Jovovich, whatever her name is,
Djokovic.
she's going to star in
Jovovich.
one of like George R.R. Martin's fantasy short story movie.
Oh,
Okay.
So this was a crazy big news week. So join us in our next segment where we'll be geeking around. And we're back. And this is the Geeking Around segment where we talk about things geeky or otherwise going around in the geekosphere. So Wendell, what have you been geeking about?
This last week I beat a game on the DS. It's a kind of old game by published by Nintendo called Glory of Heracles. It's a JRPG and it takes place in ancient Greece. And basically, you and your characters are going around. You're all immortals, and you're trying to solve this mystery of your past and why you guys are immortal and etc. and all that kind of stuff. The story is fairly average, but the game was pretty fun. But it's a little bit on the simpler side compared to other RPGs that are on the DS. And I just decided to go for something a little bit easy, and I actually had a lot of fun. I would give it like 3 out of 5 stars. If you find it for pretty cheap, totally pick it up. Like you would be you won't be disappointed.
Is it an RPG in the classic RPG sense or in like the tactic sense?
It's an RPG in like the classic JRPG where you take turns.
Okay.
It's like regular turn based and
So like your FFs, your
like old school Final Fantasies, your Dragon Quest,
your Legend of Lufia's, your
exactly.
Lunar Legends. Anyway, yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah, and there's like little mini games to break up the monotony of just selecting your characters fighting. Like you can actually like say like, oh, I'm gonna do this like little mini game to make my magic move or my special attack powered up, and they have like various ones depending on which moves you use. So there's like little like when you're playing, the gameplay is regular JRPG, but when you want to use magic or special moves in your like skills list, you can actually do like little mini games in between, so it breaks it up a little bit. And it's a bit weird because the story really comes in heavy at the beginning, barely any story towards the middle, and you kind of figure out you're towards the end because all of a sudden all the story starts coming in again. So it's a bit weird.
Sounds like an anime.
Yeah, pretty much. There is anime not cutscenes, but like there's one main one in the beginning. Like a lot of DS games had that at the time, and it was one of Nintendo's series that they used to come out with since the SNES. But this is the first time they ever brought it out here, and I think when Nintendo started bringing a lot of its games specifically for Japan to America, they kind of were on the easy side, except if it was Fire Emblem. It's a fun game. If you find it for pretty cheap, totally pick it up. And I'm also in the middle of watching Space Dandy Season 2. I said how much I liked it before in another episode, and this one is more of the same, but a little bit more sillier, a little bit more grander. There was one episode I really liked where they were, it was almost like a High School Musical episode, and I thought it was very hilarious. Like Dandy gets in on singing, and the whole school's tier function is like if you can't sing, if you don't dance, you're on the bottom, you're with the geeks, and if you do sing and dance and you're beautiful, you're all the way on the top. And then it boils down to like a big battle at prom. Which is pretty hilarious.
Is this also dubbed, or
this is dubbed as well? Okay. Yeah. So they did both seasons dubbed, and again, highly recommend the dub. Highly recommend the dub.
What episode you're on season 2?
I'm on episode I think 4 or 5 if I remember right.
Okay.
Like I'm not super deep into it, but it's gonna blow by pretty quickly if I keep at it.
I don't see a problem with it. I heard like this was made for an American audience specifically,
as most of the guy's other shows I find.
Well, this one more so than others, but yeah, actually, I heard about this episode, and it kind of makes me want to go and watch the series now just to get to that.
You won't be disappointed. It's really good.
I can't spoil anything because if I say something, you guys might get upset and like kill me. But
we're not that harsh.
Space Dandy's a great TV show.
Tough for yourself, Kevin.
Space Dandy's a great TV show, so I think wait till you get to like episode 7 and 8, then you'll see the real magic of the show itself.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice.
No, it is really good.
That's good to hear.
I've been catching up on a lot of shows. one of which started again, and it was Archer. I'm enjoying Archer. I like how they bring it back, and it's back to like what they were doing before. They're part of like the little secret agent thing, although they're now part of the actual CIA because they're trying to like not really broadcast the whole ISIS thing.
I completely forgot about that.
But the episodes are just as crazy as they were before, and they're doing really well with like the subtle hints of like you wouldn't get some of the episodes as to why like Archer's making mistakes or whatever. But I think I was seeing some Imager comments kind of like for some of the episodes, and they like it brings it back to like other seasons why Archer thinks certain ways, and it's because of his mother saying certain things too. So like it's so good how they're able to actually pull all this together, and it makes sense.
A lot of callbacks, a lot of references, self-referencing from past seasons.
So it's really good. They do it very well. Like it's not subtle. Sometimes it's straight up, like just like blatant. But no, definitely a show to continue watching. It's just so good.
I started watching the first season. Well, not the first season. It's in the 6th season right now.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, this is the 6th
And
season.
I watched the first episode, and I was like, my jaw dropped. And I liked how they kind of drove home that it's going back to how it was before. And I really liked how they really drove that joke super hard. I just thought it was really I'm not going to say what it was, but it was really hilarious.
It was good. I liked it.
It was basically the joke you're talking about, a sort of a slap to the face, while also to the fans who complained a lot.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit like a middle finger, while at the same time making a good joke out of that. In my opinion, at least, as I was watching that episode, this is pretty much to all the people who are saying blah 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 about Archer and about my Archer Vice and things they didn't like about it, and this is them going "F you," but we're still gonna do it anyway.
The only thing that confused me about the first episode is right before they do the main theme song, like the reference is made that like he's in Vietnam and he's with his cheap whores, and then they said like boy ladies, and then lady boys, and then he asks them if they are or not, and then they show their genitals, but
that one was very confusing because
his reaction is not telling of anything, and I'm just like, is that supposed to be a positive or a negative? And it just goes into the theme, and I think that's on purpose, just to be like, you figure it out.
Yeah,
because Archer, he's all over the place.
I don't know if he is all over the place or if he's just like, post. Same thing.
He's still
post-op.
Ray.
He's like post-op, same thing, whatever.
It's really good though. Another show I got back to watching was Gotham. Still a good series. They really do a good job with the main character. No, the Penguin too continues to be a very good character through the series. But Jim Gordon still going with like him trying to not give up, but still getting thrown around because he's still trying to like, no, I got to do my job properly. But then, like, because the system is still so corrupt, there's not that much that he can do other than get himself in trouble because, well, the system's corrupt and nobody really wants to back him. And I liked actually that they didn't really showcase too much of Bruce Wayne. They did a bit in the most recent episode, but it was really like a few episodes of just him not even in any of the story, which was great. Like you get the here and there of like Cat and Ivy a bit, but mostly it was about Jim, and it worked really well. And Bullock still continues to be a good character. Like he's always like getting like dragged due to Gordon, and he's all like, "Well, don't get me involved. You too, Bullock." It's like, "What did I tell you?"
Yeah.
So very good dynamic, very good story. Fish Mooney is a good character still, and they do a good set of storylines that's integrated with everything involving her as well. So nope, still a good show. Very much still enjoying it as well.
I actually, one of the things, so it came back from its mid-season, like a very short hiatus, because I think they did the episodes they had filmed at first, and then they got picked up for another extra 8, right? Or something to that effect. So they got a full season order after the first that they got. And I actually, what I like about when they come back is that they found found what people didn't like about the show and they tweaked it to fix it a bit, and that actually worked because they had not filmed a lot of it also, and since they had time to film more episodes. So they put more of a focus on Gordon, which I think a lot of people complained about early on, is that he doesn't get, like, I think he has a few episodes that are his stories, but overall it felt like he wasn't ever even really the main character for, like, a lot of the show, like, a lot of that middle ground. And, like, they got rid of Bruce Wayne a lot, and they explained that away, and it's very quick. They also reduced the amount of Selena Kyle, because that was also a huge complaint a lot of people had. But overall, I feel like there are some, like, hiccups still, but it's still a decent show, and I don't know why people are hating on it too much still. Some people, at least. Or hardcores, at least.
It's one of those shows I'm going to wait till it's on Netflix or whatever service is on, and I'll just marathon it.
I agree, actually. I think this would end up being a better marathon type of series than it would, like, kind of week
Episodic.
to week.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go, yeah.
It's like Veronica Mars, like I mentioned in episode 0. It's a lot like Veronica Mars, where the beginning and the end tie in, but that middle part is always that spot where you kind of want to drop off just right after the first few minutes, because it hasn't entered really the big main event of the week, but you got what you needed from the cliffhanger from last week. But I still think people should, like, you know, you can either, I would wait to marathon it, actually, for a lot of people, unless you've already started.
And
I still like it, so I say keep watching it.
Same.
I'm not watching it at the moment.
For shame.
I saw like the first episode and I was like, oh, this is not too bad.
Yeah.
A lot better than I thought it was. But
I still think it should be called Gotham City Stories and not just
Gotham Central?
No, it's not even really a Gotham Central, because they focus a lot more on the mafia than they do on the actual cops, it feels, half the time.
Yeah.
So it feels more like an anthology of just the variety of people in Gotham than an actual Gotham Central, where I feel, I haven't read it, but what I understand it to be more focused on the police officers and their day to day.
yeah, wasn't this kind of pulled from Greg Rucka's run on Gotham PD, basically?
Gotham Central. They took some elements from the book and put it on the show. Certain not storylines, but the look and feel of the comics, they pretty much borrowed that.
Shout out to Greg Rucka.
But I also like one thing that still stands out, and I like it a lot, is you've got it's a weird kind of technology. Like the technology in the series doesn't make sense too much, because you've got people who have cell phones, but then like they're trying to explain like who the bad guys are, and they're using like the old like teachers clear the
Dry board kind of thing. What was it called again? Where do you have it's like you have like your clear paper and your graph and you write
Transparency?
Yeah, there you go.
And they have that, and they're
Acetate,
yeah, there
yes.
you go, and they're showing that through just like a little light source, and I'm just like, you guys have cell phones, and obviously you have computer. Oh,
It's
never
the
mind.
90s. It's honestly, I think the time period is early mid 90s, when there was that kind of semi crossover.
Oh, you're not there yet.
Oh yeah.
No, I mean like where the technology is.
But it's a little all over the place,
everywhere.
and you do see it. But I like that they're kind of doing that all over the place. It's cute. It's got its moments where I'm like, why would you? Oh, never mind.
Part
It's
of you
good.
kind of remembers like when we used to watch like Naruto, and they kind of do that too, where they have like, oh, well, they have earpieces, but it's not tech, and then like all of a sudden they do have it, and there's like,
Well, they had like movies, because that first movie is about them going to film a movie.
Well, it's similar to like the Batman the Animated Series. You see like the first few episodes, they have like some modern technology with like old technology mixed in together.
yeah.
Maybe that's what they're doing a bit.
And then they had like crazy Art Deco styled everything all over the place.
And another show I've picked up again is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They finally left the damn farm. That was my biggest pet peeve before. They're like, why are they always at the farm? Why are they always causing trouble at the farm?
I know you're gonna continue your point. Just to put that out there, I was talking to a friend of mine about this whole situation, about how you didn't like the fact that they were on the farm and it felt like it was forever.
Yeah.
You know, it's only been 8 episodes. When you think about it, the problem is that it's been 8 episodes in 4 months. That's why it feels like it's been longer.
Yeah.
But otherwise, they've only been on it for 8 episodes, and you can write that out as like they've been on the farm for maybe a week or 2.
But like every episode was just them like, oh, the reason why there's something happening is because they goofed something themselves, and it's just like, so if they weren't there,
That's
there
usually
wouldn't
how
have
it
been
happens,
problem. Yeah, I know. The episode that I saw recently, just like, okay, I like where they're going again. Let's see where they go, and they finally introduce Rocksteady and Bebop and Rocksteady. and like who changed who they get used from like because it's all a transformation thing. So it's just like, oh wait, and then they finally do it. I'm like, okay, I like where they're going with this. So it's bringing me back. It was just driving me crazy, the whole farm thing. It felt dry. It felt the bit that they were lost or didn't know really where to progress past that. But like now that they're back into the city, they're trying to get things sorted out. They're trying to look into things, and like they're using the pizza place as their hideout. I find that's cute, and I'm like, okay, good. Like, all right, they're back on track with it because I really do like this series. I do find a lot of their like the problems that are occurring are kind of mostly due to the turtles being
teenagers
and making huge mistakes. But I still really like the show. It's really fun. So like I'm really glad that they're kind of back on it. I like the show so much that they had released craft dinner boxes with all the Ninja Turtles and the shapes, and I bought like 2 sets of them, and I was like, yeah, it's awesome. So yeah.
Well, I'm just gonna let you know, I don't think they were lost. I think that was part of his plan, because if you've seen like the Comic-Con panels for the TMNT show, they plan out pretty much the entire season in advance. He knows which characters he's using. Like when I saw the season 2 Comic-Con panel before season 2, they told you all the characters, or at least concept sketches for all the people coming in. They had ideas of how to use them. I think it was very much if they kept going the way they were going, it was going to be that thing where it kept getting really dark, especially towards the end of season 2. I was getting a very dark, like that last episode, that season finale in season 2 is pretty dark, and I think they just needed a breather from it. And they also explained all the gripes you've had about the show that you've mentioned, I think off mic, about how do they not know? Well, the news has been the news has been controlled out. They've taken over the city, and they've explained that they're explaining to the world nothing is wrong, and if they're brainwashing people, so yeah. If they're brainwashing the top brass.
Well, they're taking certain elements from the comic books and putting it in the TV show.
The showrunner for this one, big fan. He's seen the original. He's read the initial, the first runs of the comics. Black and white. The pizza place that they're in is modeled after his dad's pizza place that his dad used to own. He's Italian. The guy who the current showrunner, and he's seen all the shows. He's seen the movies. Like he's well versed in turtle lore, and that's why he got the job. I have faith. And what they've done so far.
But that's
also the opening's pretty good too.
Yeah, I love the opening's good too. But yeah, it's gotten me back into the show. Like I'm just glad that they're away from the farmhouse, and it looks like they're actually.
I think they had to just make more toys for the production company.
Yeah, either make more toys or probably fit in the toys that they've already got.
Well, they brought the van.
Yes, they brought back the old van. It's great.
So that was neat.
The Volkswagen Beetle.
I can't wait till they make the Lego version of it.
And last, I've been really on top of this one anime called Shirobako. It's an interesting anime where it's just an anime talking about how an anime is produced and all the steps that they need to deal with and stuff like that. So it's very much like the manga one, the manga anime where it's like showing you how mangas are done. This one is very just like how the animes are done, but like in a showing method, and I'm liking it a lot. And like they're showing like little snippets where they're like explaining like, well, why is this important? Why is this important? And stuff like that. So as much as it might be boring, it's very interesting for me because I'm like, oh, that's cool. I like that. I understand now. It's cool.
Well, we can't all be episode 6 of
Golden Boy. I was going to say that. You stole it. I hate you.
Yeah. Well, also animation isn't done that way anymore.
Yeah, exactly. It really isn't done that way.
Yeah.
Which is sad.
No, that sounds like an interesting show to watch.
So the first thing I did was I watched season 2 of The Fall. It's on Netflix.
Is that the one with Gillian Anderson?
Yes, it is the one with Gillian Anderson, and it's really good actually. I compare it to like Hannibal, where it's like you see like the serial killer walking around doing his thing, and you see Gillian Anderson, the cop, trying to catch him, and you see like the cat and mouse games that they play with each other to like get it done. And throughout the show, Gillian Anderson is a player. She has slept with so many cops, men and female. I lost track. I'm not crazy about how she just
She's a hoe.
Hey, let's slut shame, man.
talks to everybody like very softly, which I don't really like. She'll be like, "Tell me what you think. What's so wrong with this?" And like people are like, "You don't know how crazy you make me. Like I just want to rip off your clothes." She's like, "I think you should leave now." Like just like no emotion, just
So she's Wednesday
passive.
Addams?
Yeah. Just like like. But she's a great actress. The show's super good, and I really like the villain.
Yeah, I like the serial killer. The thing is, I found season 2 a bit more boring compared to season 1.
It was more like the serial killer starting to unravel,
Yeah.
And so, like, it wasn't as fun because season 2, she knows who the serial killer is. The serial killer knows that she knows who he is. And then it's him sort of, like, unraveling because, like, he's like, I'm going to give it all up. And then you find out he can't just give it all up. Like, he tried to walk away and then
pulled him right back.
Sociopathic compulsions.
Yeah.
It's a short series, too, right? It's, 6 episodes each season?
6 or 8? It's not long.
Yeah. British
Like
system.
an hour episodes, no?
Yeah, it's 6 1-hour episodes. Something to that effect, yeah.
And I also started watching Z Nation, which is...
I heard it's really bad.
Really? Because I like it more than Walking Dead.
That is weird. I saw an episode of Z Nation in the middle.
I feel like Walking Dead, like there are just episodes that just go nowhere, and I'm bored out of my mind.
There's a whole season where they just go nowhere, from what I understand.
Yeah, they're on the farm for a whole season.
Yeah, and nothing happens. And in Z Nation, things tend to happen. I also like in Walking Dead. There's a lot of characters I hate. Like, I don't like the little girl. I don't like Carl. I don't like the bald other cop guy that was in the earlier seasons.
Yeah.
Shane. There's just a lot of characters I don't like. And in Z Nation,
Things.
and in Z Nation, so far I haven't actually hated a character.
Even the what's his name? Oh my god, the guy who actually is immune. He's such a douche.
Yeah, he's a douche, but I don't hate him. I like his characters goes, and if you see the show,
Are you okay? You're actually liking something?
you know,
He liked Marco Polo.
yeah,
Marco
I
Polo's
like
fantastic.
fantastic.
Oh
I need to
man.
watch
Yeah,
that.
I like The Fall. We just
haven't,
talked
but
about
yeah,
that.
watch it.
Yeah, and as a zombie show goes, it's good. And I like the Pizza Pocket guy. The guy up north. I don't know his name. He's in like a bunch of like
DJ Qualls, I think. The one who was the radio guy?
Yeah,
DJ Qualls, yeah.
yeah. He's like in a bunch of funny movies, and they're not usually good. And this one, I was like, yeah, put the guy that wants pizza pockets all the time because he's the hacker of the world.
Pizza pockets or hot pockets?
Hot
Same
pockets,
difference.
whatever. I'm Canadian.
Hot pockets.
Yeah, what do you know about like
Somebody
Hot
else.
Pockets?
I'm enjoying it. I mean, I could see why people wouldn't like it, but for now, it's good.
Is it like a B movie, but just a TV show, and like they play all night, or is it?
Kinda.
Kinda, yeah.
Good description.
I'd like to get into that because I like movies.
Yeah, like they have scripts where you're like, I don't really. They have one character like whose name is 10,000, and they're like, why is your name 10,000? He's like, because that's how many zombies I'm gonna kill. And every time he kills a zombie, he counts one up. He's like 546, 547, and they're like, what happens when you reach 10,000? He's like, I changed my name to 1,000,000.
I saw the episode where they end up on the compound with women only. That's such a weird episode.
There's like, we ran into a group of cannibals. Oh, we ran into a group of a family where they're using their kids as bait to steal all your shit. You know, like real life scenarios where I can see like those douchebags in a zombie apocalypse. I might be one of those. Very
Dead
relatable.
Rising style.
Yeah. You know, I liked it.
So you're taking pointers, and you're writing it down.
Hey, write it down.
Oh, yeah, I should do that.
Create a
Make some note.
compound. Pretend to make friends. So good.
Dot. Profit.
Exactly. And finally, I actually watched How to Train Your Dragon 2.
How'd you like it?
I did. I found it entertaining. I mean, I probably wouldn't have watched it if it wasn't for like 3 other people who were like, you haven't seen it, you gotta sit down and watch it.
You saw it at like a friend's place?
Yeah.
Or? Okay.
And it was enjoyable.
Did you like it better than the first one?
I don't know. I liked some of it better than the first one, but then some of the story I was just like,
Yeah.
There's a lot of plot holes in it.
Yeah.
Like, they never tell you how the bad guy became
Bad.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, you know, like, they don't tell you that. He just sort of like...
He's just there and he can control a dragon. They never explain why. They don't like...
Yeah, they don't show anything. And they're like, but how'd you do that? And he's like, Shut up! I'm gonna conquer the world.
So Oscar worthy then, right?
Yeah. Super Oscar. But at the same time, good animation. It's kind of funny. I still don't like what's his name, the main character.
What's his name again?
I like Toothless. I just don't like
No.
Hiccup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it Hiccup?
Yeah.
I think it's because it's played by Jay Baruchel. Is that why?
Could be. Didn't know that, but
Oh,
that
you
makes
didn't know
sense.
that?
Yeah.
He's played by a Montrealer.
Yeah.
He's from NDG.
Yeah. Get out of here, Jerry Baruchel.
Yeah, it's
Get out of here, Butter. And
same guy who plays the.
I also
Sisters of
picked
Crisis.
up Hearthstone for the first time in like forever.
Yeah.
And after 2 days, I was
back?
like, yeah, not playing this no more. I'll come back to it in another 2 months. And it was super weird because I got in and it was like, you have won your arena. And I was like, what arena? I haven't played in forever. And then I was like, I played. And then the next day it was like, you have won arena again. And I was like, what did I do? I was only like ranked 19. And I was like, oh yeah, if you're higher than 20, you win. And I was like, yeah, I'm done. So yeah, I don't know. People like Hearthstone. I prefer Magic. And that was my Geeking Around week.
Okay, so season 5 of Downton Abbey finally came out on DVD. I got it and I started watching it. It's good, but it's I think it's lost some of its magic. To
Is
be
it
honest,
because is season 5 where they lose their dog?
no, I don't think so. Unless it's spoilers. But anyways,
It's not spoilers because their dog's name is Isis, and so they had to get rid of it because of Isis. Just like Archer had to get rid of Isis. Yeah.
Oh my god.
it could be because
I thought this was the whole theme here.
Isn't it
Archer because of Isis? So now the
Well,
CIA.
I was watching. I was like, "That's ISIS. Oh, the dog." And he keeps saying it. Come here, ISIS, and all that stuff. And I was like,
yeah.
that's somewhat unfortunate.
Yeah, they kill off.
of a Egyptian god though.
Yeah.
It does, yeah, it does. But now it's a terrorist group, and so they had to kill off the dog in
Just ruining
Downton
everything.
Abbey because his name was Isis.
Well, thanks for the spoiler.
Yeah. Look forward to it.
I'm only halfway through the series.
I thought you watched this bit.
Spoiler.
After season 4, I feel like they're pushing like Lady Mary's suitors a bit too much. I don't. None of you understand what I'm talking about.
No, I understand what you're talking about. I just don't watch the show. That's all.
Okay, it's just like there's no real chemistry between her and the suitors because they're just here for 5 minutes and out.
But that's how it was back then. It's not like they're waiting for chemistry between you.
No, before you had cousin Matthew, okay, that was always there.
Continue, sir. Continue.
Okay,
No.
they're distant cousins, okay, really distant.
Oh. So
And it's just that
for everybody.
it's just that cousin Matthew was gonna inherit Downton, seeing that Lord Grantham only had daughters, so sadly his inheritance wasn't gonna go to them. But yeah, I feel like I don't know, they're trying to find a story, but after last season, which was really good, and like with the storylines that they had for like the servants and even like the aristocracy, I found that this season it's not as good.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah. I really like the show, but
This is the season where someone learns how to drive.
well, no, Edith learned how to drive like season 3.
Season 3, okay. It's all the same to me in my head. It's a good show. But
It all pushed together a bit.
yeah, I can't remember which character dies, which character.
A lot of characters died that season.
Which characters get fired, who becomes a doctor. There's plot twists.
Yeah.
Plot twists.
Oh god.
It's a great show. You guys should definitely watch.
The butler's amazing.
Thomas, say bad things are happening to him, and like I can't feel bad for him because he's such an asshole. Otherwise, I watched Transparent, which won the Emmy. Well, the Golden Globe actually.
Yeah, the Golden Globe.
And these are Oscars are this weekend or next
Yes.
weekend?
I don't know.
Next weekend.
I think. Well, there's sometime this month. I think. But continue.
I started watching it, and you know what? At the end, I marathoned it because it was a really good show.
Okay.
Like, it's funny, it's sad, like, it has a bit of everything, and, like, there's a very good chemistry between all the actors, and, like, I really enjoyed it as a TV show.
So the Golden Globes actually got it.
Yeah, it's very warranted.
Oh, that's the show where David Tambor plays.
Yeah, exactly. The transgender, who comes out to his family. And the thing is, it's not really about him and his transition and being transgender. It's more about how his messed up kids are taking the news, and they're just they're adult children, It's
okay.
it's a weird chemistry.
It's like Arrested Development, but
Not
realistic. Like I mean the term, the actual term. I mean the actual term, not the actual show.
Yeah, definitely. Like I remember some of the scenes. It's really funny at times, okay, but really serious in others. Mm-hmm. And it's very well acted, and I really would say anyone go and watch it. And the last thing I did this weekend, actually, I had a very long weekend work. I was kind of bummed out, so I was like, ugh, what can I do to feel better? Only one answer: watch Jurassic Park.
I want to believe in magic. I want to believe in dinosaurs.
It's such a good movie, and it's like I've said it before. Okay, it's just like it's one movie that I can watch forever. You know.
So you're gonna love rewatching it when you get ready for Jurassic Park episode.
Is Newman still a dick?
Oh yeah, Ned.
The movie hasn't changed in the last 20 years.
Yeah, but sometimes people's memories change. And sometimes we remember things differently.
No, he was always a douchebag.
Well, you know, he has a reason. You know, he was bad with money. Hammond didn't want to give him a raise. You, Hammond.
Yeah.
And then he gets eaten by a dinosaur.
No, he doesn't get eaten right away. It spits black goop at him.
Yeah,
first.
which paralyzes him.
Yeah.
And then the dinosaur can feast while he's still alive.
Yes.
That movie is so good.
Oh, it is so good.
And it holds up really well.
Oh, it holds up amazingly. Like,
Well, except for
Sam Jackson get killed again.
Oh, Mr. Arnold.
well, you know, we don't see him. We see his arm.
Yeah. No, but remember, she's like, oh, Mr. Arnold pulls up the arm.
Or, what was it? I was gonna say, I know this. It's a Unix.
Seriously. Like, how much of a hacker you are? Like, everything has a name, and you're just going to the right.
If you want a really good description of this movie, you should also just go check out the Honest trailer. I think they did a really good job with it too.
It's funny. It's like, I'm not a nerd. I prefer the term hacker.
It's so 90s.
I know, from what I remember about that movie was that movie had the shortest amount of time for a black man to die in that movie. In the intro, shooter! Shoot! It was a black guy.
Are you sure it wasn't a Latino?
I think it was a black guy.
I don't think it was a black guy. I don't remember him
I'm
being
pretty
black.
sure it was a black guy.
We're gonna have to look that up, but we'll bring this back up when we talk about it.
It was pretty quick.
But yeah,
Jurassic World comes out in April?
Soon enough, yeah.
Yeah, so we're gonna have a Jurassic Park episode around that time.
I'm watching that right away, you know.
Jurassic World for sure, same here.
After the trailer, like, the TV spot trailer, it was amazing. I found it, like, I love Jurassic Park.
So this week, How to Get Away with Murder came back onto TV to finish off their sort of storyline from the last, I guess not season, but first half before the hiatus, which is super weird because this felt like this should have been the episode that ended the hiatus because it kind of wraps up a lot of the first part of the storyline while still opening up with a cliffhanger that opens up to a second half of the first season storyline. But it's continuing right away, so I'm happy about that. So How to Get Away with Murder is essentially a show by Shonda Rhimes, so you know her from Private Practice, I think, Grey's Anatomy, Scandal. So she's behind a lot of those shows. And this is a show about a bunch of law students who get a prestigious opportunity to intern for this really good defense attorney played by Viola Davis. And this is the show that if you wanted to see if she can do Amanda Waller, this is the show. But in this show, she actually gets to be more two-dimensional, more three-dimensional, sorry. So she feels like she has her tough bitch side, but she also has her very emotional side as well. And the show just is just great. I'm so glad it's back. I'm looking forward to how the season's going to continue. And I definitely recommend people go out there and watch it. You can watch it serialized or you can watch it like week to week and it's still a fun episode because they're just putting in, because it's very much case of the week, but it's so serialized within that case of the week structure that you're still getting a good story on the overarching plot at the same time. So it spends time on both. And last weekend I decided to finally watch Justice League War and Justice League Throne of Atlantis. So
double feature.
Yeah, actually, I didn't watch them back to back, but I watched them
relatively
Saturday, Sunday kind of thing. Justice League War is okay, and when you take into account that they're all young superheroes, this is before the formation of the Justice League, as they are known. They're just such douchebags. But I think it kind of actually works, like, as their character types kind of work. The Superman, if you... I guess they're trying to fix it so that Superman can kill, because he, straight up strangles a bitch.
Well,
even though
he Throne of Atlantis, how many people died?
Yeah.
Well, we're not there.
I'll get to that. But it's Justice League War. So this Darkseid comes to take over the world. The Justice League sort of forms to take him out.
Yeah, they say nine.
It's also a mini origin story for Cyborg at the same time.
And Shazam,
No, Shazam is already Shazam at this point.
Yeah, sure.
But you get to see a little bit of Billy Batson as Shazam.
Yeah.
Shazam / Billy, funny character. I can see why people like him because it feels like an extension of his Young Justice kind of like they took it from that. And it feels a lot more.
Nice.
As someone who hasn't read any of the comics and has only seen like the shows and the animated universes, but definitely I enjoyed Justice League War. My only issue was like they're such douchebags to each other.
As it should be.
I guess so, but it's just like, but the Green Lantern's funny, and is he voiced by Nathan Fillion in this one or
Yes,
in
he is.
It is.
in Justice League War as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
They keep him.
Okay, good, because I know in Throne of Atlantis he sounds way more like Nathan Fillion, but in the first one I thought this was Nathan Fillion, but I couldn't tell kind of thing.
I think they said like, just be more you. And
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
But the Green Lantern's hilarious because he's trying to be like the big man on the block because I take care of this entire sector kind of thing.
Yeah.
But everyone just kind of just shits on him. It's pretty
Especially
great.
when Batman just steals his ring with whatever, bro.
And it's funny. Oh shit, I forgot about that. Yes. In their first encounter, Batman basically it just shits on Barry it's not Barry Allen. What is his name?
Hal Jordan?
Hal Jordan. And he takes his ring just like that. Like it was nothing. And just like totally tricks him into getting it, and it was great. And that was one of the good scenes. Another good scene is that we brought up in the Avatar episode that Peter mentioned is when Wonder Woman slaps Shazam is like, "You're a warrior, not a child. Act like it." And overall, it's just an enjoyable movie. The action's pretty decent. The CG is okay, like the CG parts that they use. And you can see why, like, it sort of makes sense that, yeah, in their early days, there's no way that these people would ever really work together unless something of a world-ending, like, event would occur. Any other thoughts on War? Because I don't think we've actually discussed it yet.
I didn't see it yet.
I watched it when it came out, and like I like how they stayed true to like the New 52 reboot, except for like except for the whole Aquaman part and like Shazam being there. But otherwise, I really enjoyed it because for the most part, it stayed within like what was written. So yeah, it was pretty good. I enjoyed it.
prefer the original comic.
Yeah, me too.
DC animated movies now are kind of hit or miss depending what you're watching, and the Justice League stuff is okay in my opinion, not great.
It was good. They did a good job of introducing the characters in War and kind of like building up all the different characters. I think it highlighted Shazam a lot with kind of like how he's kind of sort of the reason why the group kind of does pull together in the end, because he's the one who's like, man, you're actually all my idols, and it's like trying to get them together, but like, no, we could do this. So that's what worked really well with that thing. But yeah, the fact that like Batman is he's just like, I just do this, and like Hal Jordan's just like, what, are you just like some regular guy wearing a suit? And he just smiles, and it's just like, okay, good. So no, they did a good job. I liked War a lot, and it was an entertaining movie to watch.
Like I said before, I prefer the actual comics than the actual animated films.
Agreed.
And I also watched Throne of Atlantis. Not as good of a movie. It was okay.
Throne of garbage.
It was a very okay movie.
You mean Throne of Atlantis?
Yeah, Throne of Atlantis. Why? What did I say?
You said something else.
Like throw.
Oh, sorry. So yeah, Throne of Atlantis, very okay movie.
I like throw away Atlantis.
It's not a great movie.
Well, like you throw it under the throw.
Throw it under the rug. Sweep under the rug, Atlantis.
You should
Call
have.
it a throw.
This is the Aquaman origin story, I guess you could say.
It's too bad because Aquaman's such a badass character.
He is, like, in the New 52, he's such a badass character.
In everything other than the Super Friends. In this movie, he's still fairly badass-ish.
Yeah.
In this movie, it makes me think that Namor could beat him.
Well, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Anyway, it's not a strong movie. It's an okay movie. It feels like they wanted to double bill this with Justice League War because the League doesn't actually really even form until the end of this movie as an actual, like, we're a team now. We should actually act like it. It was very okay. There's a lot of like death. Like people just get murked like no tomorrow. And like these are actually like, quote unquote people. Not like in the other one where it's just nameless robot 1, 2, but it's a lot of just nameless people. But there's a lot of cool things. The one thing I did have to disagree with on the is like the whole Superman Wonder Woman relationship.
What?
Actually gets I said it actually gets decently I was gonna say it actually gets decently explained in this one because I remember you guys mentioned in the Avatar one that it felt out of nowhere. Peter mentioned that. Other Peter mentioned that it felt like it still didn't fit. But when he actually describes it, when they're standing on top of the mountain looking out at the view of Greece or wherever they are, and she's basically saying, I know gods and I know Amazons, and I'm kind of in the middle, and you're not as strong as a god and you're stronger than the normal person, you're kind of in the middle too. So when they explain it that way, it makes sense that they would like at least hook up initially on that attraction alone. But what I find hilarious is when she first puts on the glasses and how intrigued she is by it. It's like in War when she has ice cream for the first time. Ice cream? I love this ice cream. You make the best ice cream ever, kind of thing. So I love her fascination with the glasses and how Lois is trying to hit on Clark and is so jealous of Wonder Woman, and it kind of all works. So I actually think the relationship in that aspect does make some sense, and it does kind of work, in at least for the short amount that they could show, because there's so many characters in Throne of Atlantis that everyone feels very secondary.
Yeah.
And even Cyborg and his issues get dealt with fairly quickly, and Shazam is such a cockblock. But otherwise, you know what? Throne of Atlantis, very okay movie.
Well,
it's not the worst in the DC pantheon of animated movies.
That's pretty high up there in the worst.
But it's in the average middle which means it's still pretty low, because there's a lot of good movies out there.
Question, Sam.
Yes.
Would you rather watch that movie again or the Green Lantern movie again?
That's a hard one because
Throne of Atlantis. It's shorter.
It's a hard one because you know what? What's his name? The actor
Ryan Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds' portrayal of the Green Lantern wasn't bad. It's just that the movie was garbage.
But yeah, the movie around him was not helpful.
So, I'd rather watch Ryan Reynolds play Hal Jordan than watch this movie again. I just like the way they butchered Aquaman. It was just like it was too much.
Yo, he did some pretty cool kills in there.
The scene.
Oh yeah, I talked to fish also.
Yeah, I was just gonna say
that.
that scene is just like, so I can talk to fish, and it's like,
But it's funny because he calls in a whale to crush the other thing and pick up everybody.
Fish.
I don't know how that works, by the way. How he picks up the people in the pods using the whale, because it feels like the whale just kind of like dips its heads and like lifts it up all those things. And like that does not work.
That's not compute. They really downplayed the whole issue Victor, Cyborg had with replacing his lung.
Is this a spoiler thing? That's why.
No, that's early in.
That's like first.
It's like the
because
first scene.
in the first, they like, so we finished the upgrade, now you don't have a lung anymore. But like in the comics, he's all like, it's some of the last parts of me being human.
Yeah.
He didn't want to lose his lung, but then because of the circumstances of the Throne of Atlantis, he's like, okay, you know what? I have to do it for the greater good.
Either
And then he
way,
feels like he's losing a part of his humanity.
it's an hour and 15 minutes. No, they actually have to downplay it because these movies are usually typically an hour 15, and on the lower part of an hour sometimes. So yeah, like if you look at Dark Knight, not the Dark Knight. Is it what it's called?
Gotham Knight.
No. Is it Gotham
No,
Knight?
the Batman, the Dark Knight.
It is called the Dark Knight. Okay, the one with older
Wait,
Batman.
let me check just in case I don't screw something up and people
Is that the
complain.
one where they go in the future?
No, that's older Batman.
Is it the one where the little kids are
Where the
explaining
girl-
the various Batmans?
What?
Is that the first part one where he teams up with the girl that wants to be Robin?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the future
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
That's when he's older.
Yeah, older Batman.
No, but there's one where they time travel.
and
It's
then
called
there's the Dark Knight Returns.
Part
Dark
1
Knight
and 2.
Returns.
Yeah,
Yeah, sorry,
yeah.
The Dark Knight Returns. Dark Knight Returns is 2 1-hour movies that could have just as easily have been a 2-hour or 2-hour.
Is the second
chain
part
movie.
on Netflix yet?
Yes, both
What?
parts are on Netflix.
Netflix.
Oh God, you heard that too, right?
You said Netflix or something like that. You said it in a
I'm sorry, I'm gonna swear for a second. It's all like new fucks. And I'm just like, what the
Yes,
F?
Keith.
I'm gonna have
No,
to listen to
that's
again.
Crave. Crave is New Fox.
Anyway, back to Throne of Atlantis. It was okay, very middling of the road movie. Just as a movie, animated movie, it was okay. It was not like to the levels of The Dark Knight Returns or Under the Red Hood or
the Green Lantern movies.
or
Yeah, no, I actually.
Or
I would
when
say-
Hulk goes to
really good.
space.
I would actually say that I enjoyed the Green Lantern, Emerald Knights, and the First Flight a lot more than I did Throne of Atlantis.
it's one of their weaker movies, but it's still not a bad, all things considered.
It's just sad that it's weak when it's supposed to not be, when it's
Exactly,
the Justice
when you're
League.
supposed to show like how badass Aquaman is, and in the end you're just like, oh look, this guy's a loser.
When you're supposed to show off why you want to read the New 52, it's
Well,
not.
why
a
you want to
good,
read Aquaman?
Yeah, it's not. It's not helping.
No.
Because Justice League War gives you a reason why you would want to read the New 52, because it seems like they've changed the character dynamics enough and the character personalities just enough from what you remember them as to make it interesting read. This one makes you kind of go, definitely don't want to read Aquaman.
Aquaman was so good.
Okay, we get it. You want to suck Aquaman off.
I don't want to suck Aquaman off.
You wanna
Just
see his
say,
fish?
Aquaman, okay.
He wants to polish his hook.
Yeah.
Kevin, your thoughts on
I've repeated myself on it too many times, but it's an okay movie.
Okay.
For you.
Pete?
Okay, so I have a healthy dose of watching just TV shows.
No,
for the
no.
past
Your
week.
thoughts on Throne of Atlantis first.
Oh, fuck that shit.
Yes.
Good.
All right.
I'm happy we concur.
Okay. I
And
guess
that is why you are a good Peter.
Okay, so Peter, what have you been geeking about?
Okay, I've been watching TV shows for this past week, so I'm gonna just breeze through it quickly. I've been watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Great show.
I'm surprised Kevin hasn't watched the show yet.
Don't be. He hasn't even watched Community.
There's a lot of things I don't watch that these
He's
guys
very
offer.
spiteful.
He doesn't like the TV. It's not
He
his fault.
doesn't watch
It is.
shows with black people in it.
You know what? It is a security theme.
Two black people, too many.
That's incorrect.
A black
There's a
captain?
black person in Arrow.
How many? One or two?
It took him that long to figure it out, though.
No,
Yeah,
So how
I did
many?
have to
One or
think.
two black people?
Just
in there?
one.
Guess what? So
So
Brooklyn Nine
Kevin's
has
like-
two black people. Community has two black people.
Community
two or
has
more.
three if you have
Forget-
count Pop Pop.
Sure enough.
Magnitude?
Yeah, but he doesn't come in until like season 3.
No, he comes in
Pretty
early.
late. He's not. He's late.
I think it's
He comes in season 2, Magnitude.
Season 2, really?
Yeah.
But he's not a main character.
Is he not even in season 1? I thought he was
he's
in
not in
season
season
1.
No, he's not.
Okay, Peter, what else have you been watching?
Technically, Arrow had two black guys. The other one, I think, died.
He thinks.
Kevin's
he
like this
thinks.
McMahon. He doesn't like black people.
Oh, there.
He likes black people. It's just that they can't be champion.
You know, I
unless
can't
they're
believe-
heavily mixed like
I
the Rock.
can't believe he
Mark
doesn't
Henry never was
tolerate doing
champion?
this podcast with you two here. you
I know, it's surprising he gets through this podcast. There's already two black people
but
and
he
a
knows
brown
us.
person.
He knows us. I'm just
Wendell,
kidding.
Mark Henry never won?
What, Allie the half flip?
dude.
He doesn't count.
He didn't win the main belt, but let's get off wrestling for a second.
Okay,
I watched
sorry,
also
sorry,
Sleepy
tangent.
Hollow, mostly for Ichabod, Orlando
Ichabod?
Jordan, and Brown Sugar.
I don't even know what that means.
The main female
His
character on
girlfriend
Sleepy
is
Hollow.
brown.
I heard she's actually a decent female character.
She is. That's
Yeah,
why I
she
refer
is.
to her
The
as
show's
Brown
still
Sugar.
not
She's
good.
sexy.
I haven't seen it, so I can't really comment. I thought I was gonna give it a shot because
That seems like
I've heard-
a show you would watch. At
It's
some
a good
point.
show to watch. It's the only
At
good
some
thing
point.
Ortsy and Kurtzman have done, so give it a shot.
Oh, it's those guys.
oh, it's one of the
yeah, but they've broken up.
Yeah, they're broken up now, but
Well,
they
I
did
just-
some decent stuff.
Yep.
Everything that they do that's not like their non-movie stuff tends to be decent because they actually put
No,
some
they're
thought behind it.
non-property stuff. Like if they don't touch Marvel or Transformers or
Into
any
Darkness.
big project or like stuff they don't create, it's okay. I'm losing my mind because Kurtzman and Ortsman destroyed Spider-Man 2, but Amazing Spider-Man 2. But hey, just give Sleepy Hollow. Their original stuff is better than what they do with Transformers. So just check this out.
Yeah, makes sense.
My mom likes it.
Which one? Which-
Sleepy Hollow.
Also,
going.
if you're watching Flash and Arrow. Who else has been watching Flash and Arrow?
I have.
So have I.
I tried to watch Flash, but after 3 episodes, I gave up.
Really? It's some would say the superior show.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I think I enjoy the
think
Flash more than the Arrow.
I just don't like the
Yeah.
characters. And also, I didn't find the Flash funny. Flash is always funny, and in the first 3 episodes, this Flash, not so funny.
Oh, that's how
He's
Jordan.
taking time to develop his powers and also his relationships and some interesting stuff happening.
Oh, there's two
for
black
the season-
people in
the
that
season
show.
premiere.
Peter, which Flash is this? It's not Barry. Was it Wally West or Barry Allen?
Barry Allen.
It's Barry Allen.
And Barry Allen was the first Flash, right? Well, the first
Yeah.
modern Flash. Because Wally West is more so Kid Flash, and he's more of the
But
Joker.
I'm thinking for
like,
their movie
kidding me?
universe DC's doing, they might pull Wally West, but who knows what's going to happen with that.
I hope they do, because they need some funny. They really, really do.
No, it's gonna be dark and gritty.
No, it's gonna be dark and grimmy, and then it's gonna have like The Rock.
Remember, no humor in DC.
No, but the Shazam.
I thought that
How
Shazam
would you
wasn't
say
gonna be
there's
part of
no
the
humor in DC when you have
thing.
Lobo?
No, you know the whole
talking
press
about the
release
ad-
that
we're talking about the-
DC, right? They don't want any humor in their shared universe. That's why I'm saying no humor in DC.
That's why I'm scared about Batman v Superman, because it's Zack Snyder, David Goyer doing what the hell they want to do.
Really?
It's gonna be grim dark.
The Batman cast is not what scares you?
What? What do you
Why?
mean?
Because Matt
You don't
Damon's
like
a
the-
great actor, and you're
No,
a big
I thought
I'm
it was Ben
saying,
Affleck.
like
Ben
Zack
Affleck,
Snyder,
yeah.
David Goyer, they're very
interchangeable.
yeah.
No, like, I find
So-
David Goyer is good when he has other people telling him, "No, you can't do this. Do it
Oh,
like
how
that."
George Lucas.
Yeah, like when he's held in check, he's really good. Otherwise, you get movies like Blade 3.
Blade 3.
Ugh.
That's Star Wars Episode 1.
I'll say this one. Blade 3 was at least funny.
It was more so the Ryan.
Ryan Reynolds, but that's
Yeah.
about
Yeah,
it.
it's strictly because of Ryan
It
Reynolds.
was Ryan Reynolds
He
beats
stole
up
the
Triple
show.
H. That's the, no,
Yeah, he
Ryan
stole the
Reynolds
show.
beats up Paul Levesque.
Yeah.
Oh god. Also, I'm watching Agent Carter and Constantine. All the comic book related shows are really good, so everyone should
I agree.
check them out.
Yes, it's been a good year for comic book TV
shows.
properties. I would
Yeah,
say
and
that.
Walking Dead's coming out later this week. The mid season, the second half of season 5.
guess
So
no
I'm
for
gonna check
Keith.
that out.
Speaking of
Watching
comic
it,
book
I
shows,
think
though.
he's better.
Speaking of comic book shows, have you seen Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Yeah, I'm up to date. I'm just waiting for Agent Carter to end and then get back to the second half of season 2.
That's still a few weeks away because they're timing it also with the movie release, I figure.
Yeah.
Not like
Yeah.
it's going to come out before, but there's obviously going to be something that happens in the Avengers Age of Ultron is going to affect something
Obviously,
in Agents of
especially with
S.H.I.E.L.D.
Hydra.
Definitely, so they pushed it back some more, and that's why Agent Carter is also here in the middle, and that's why Agent S.H.I.E.L.D. is coming way back in, like, I think March?
Yeah,
So-
early March, I believe.
Yeah, so.
Okay, I just want
gotta-
Peter's view. I wanted Peter's view on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. because he's very much into the comic books as well, and we've had a lot of opinions on the show before, so I was really interested. I just wanted to know how you felt about the series.
First season kind of slow, but the second season really picked up. That's the best argument I can say about this show. The second season's been great so far.
Okay, cool.
I agree.
And also, I'm watching Backstrom on Fox. It's basically what if House was a cop, and that's pretty much the whole show.
That sounds awesome.
Oh, what's his name? Isn't the guy who plays Dwight Schrute the main character?
Yeah, he's the main character.
Oh, I forgot his
He
name.
has like a gay sidekick, and he's like hates everyone, and he's like an
Oh, shit.
alcoholic.
Sounds like Keith,
What? Wow.
except for the alcoholic part. Got your back.
Take it one day at a time, Keith. One day at a time.
I'm afraid I have to
remember.
get back my chip on Sunday.
And remember, if you have any trouble, Keith, remember, if you have any trouble, call me, and remember, I love you.
Are you kidding me?
Oh, really?
Are you kidding me? I called you, and what'd you say? Let's go meet at McKibben's and have a beer.
Oh, I never said I was good at it. I never said I was good at this.
Anyway, Pete, you were saying about Backstrom?
I'm kind of scared that this show might get canceled because they're at the same time slot as the Blacklist and Scandal, so many people are going to watch those shows compared to Backstrom, which I'm
That's
kind of
true.
scared, and Fox will probably cancel it after the first season.
Yeah, there's a high chance of that.
Oh,
occurring.
Fox.
And the last show I've been watching is Parks and Rec, the final season.
Yes!
I need to watch that final season.
Oh, so good.
It's so good, especially Andy and Tom. I mean, Ali.
Wait, what? You mean Tom?
Yeah, Tom. He kind of like acts like Ali.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Imagine
Yeah.
Ali with a high-pitched voice.
Oh, jeez.
Is that Aziz Ansari's?
Yeah.
Yes.
He is definitely one of the best parts of the show.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, it's the final season. I'm really enjoying it. I hope it ends on a strong note, not on a sour note like Seinfeld or Friends or
Yeah,
pretty
well,
much almost every NBC comedy.
When Seinfeld ended when it was high up, you know, when they were like flying
But-
high, and they were like, you know what?
But yeah, but the ending was bad. It's like
Yeah, they're all in jail.
The ending
all
kind of
go
makes
to
sense
jail.
because they're all
See,
jerks.
the
All
thing
of
is,
them are
the
jerks.
ending, okay, actually makes reference to the first episode because they're like, and you think like they said, you ever think we're gonna stop finding stuff to talk about? And then like on the first episode, they're talking about like buttons on a shirt. And last episode, when they're in prison,
they're talking about the fun stuff.
they're talking
No,
about
I
that.
think he means like he doesn't want it to end with a sour note,
Like a
bad ending. Like
Yeah.
no one gets a happy ending, everyone gets a sad ending kind of thing.
Like it just ends on a meh kind of thing.
I don't know, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it ended on meh. It's kind of like maybe around that last part of the last episode, it's kind of like, oh yeah, Kramer's like getting sold for like a pack of smokes.
Well, I remember they said that the SNL had a skit where they kind of fixed the ending of Seinfeld, basically.
I didn't see that.
It was,
I didn't see that,
yeah.
so I have to check it on YouTube.
I like what they did on Curb Your Enthusiasm for like the Seinfeld reunion.
Well, that was a good part on that show.
Yeah, it was.
Anything else you want to say about Parks and Rec?
If you guys haven't watched it, just go out and check it right now. It's on Show Me if you have Show Me. Hey, it's the final season. This is going to be a great ending, hopefully.
Oh, I think it will be. Just as a warning, a lot of people get turned off by the main character in the first season, but that's the kind of thing that does get better with each season, and I think each
Well, the
season...
first season's only 6 episodes.
Yeah, that too.
Oh, wow.
And I think each season improves ever so slightly on the previous season, so I think like the show's just been getting better and better, and like season 7 is their best season yet, in my opinion.
Chris Pratt was only supposed to be there for like season 1. But...
Yeah, he was not even supposed to be past season 1, but everyone loved his character so much that he got to stay, and that worked out for him too. I definitely like the show. It's a great show. I think everyone should watch it. And now that you can marathon most of it, definitely recommended.
Kevin.
No, I agree, because there's the girl that resembles Daria on that show.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
really
her,
good.
yeah.
You mean April?
Yeah.
That would be one of the main reasons I'd watch that show, because it's like,
she's hilarious on
another like Daria.
Aubrey Plaza.
Yes,
Yeah.
Aubrey Plaza, and she's even better on this season, and season 7 too.
So I have a question for you, Peter. I haven't seen the show, but I heard there was problems with filming Chris Pratt because he got all buff and his character in the show is not buff.
No.
Did you notice any differences in the last season?
No, I
On
noticed
him?
the difference between season like 5 and 6, because like he was filming Guardians around season 6. So notice towards the end of this 6th season, he gets a little buffed up.
But they explain it too in the show. It's like,
Yeah.
I just started working out. You'd be surprised what these things do for you, kind of thing like that. So they have like a scene where they just call it out, but not actually make any reference to it. Trust me, that was better for him on the show. Because there's some scenes in the first few seasons where he's just like that disgusting kind of fat. Or he's just like, what was it? He was training to be a cop, right? In one episode, and he does laps around a track field, and he does like one, and he's like, it's too hot, and he starts taking off all his clothes, and he's just like sweaty and like,
Disgusting.
Well, the thing is, when he was
Now who's fat shaming?
the thing is when he was filming for Guardians, okay, like or getting ready for it, they told him like lose some weight, we'll like CGI the abs on you, but he's like, no, I'll do it.
I remember in the early seasons, he was eating like out of a frisbee, and I was like, wow.
I don't know if that's fat shaming or not, Keith.
To be honest, when I was in Mexico,
You're eating out of a frisbee?
they used frisbees
God.
as plates for their tacos. So you'd go up to a stand and they would put a frisbee, a plastic bag over it, and throw your taco on top of it.
To be fair, at one of the corn roasts for our school, they gave us frisbee plates, so we cannot crap on frisbee plates
I have
too
eaten off
hard.
of a frisbee multiple times. I would not say fat shaming, although I
perfect.
am obese.
It was perfect too, because when you were done, you're just like, whoop-ah! And it just disappears.
Throw away your plate.
that's horrible. All right. Awesome. So, join us in our next segment where we'll be talking about our main topic, the movie The Imitation Game, starring Benedict Cumberbatch and Keira Knightley.
Yes.
Is that who she was?
This is Austin St. John. I played Jason, the original Red Ranger from television's Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Right now, I am geeking out at the Tower Podcast. Check it out, man. It's Morphin time.
And we're back, and this is the main topic where we'll be discussing or having a short review on the movie The Imitation Game, starring Benedict Cumberbatch. This will be like the third time I've said who's starring in it, so you better know who it is. Okay, so I guess... Hey, Kevin, the foo. So I'll just try to do a short review, quote-unquote short. So this takes place over not three timelines, but in 3 time periods of Alan Turing's life. So he's a mathematician who basically goes for for a job in the army during World War II to crack the Enigma machine, which was known as...
And the machine was called the Enigma.
Yeah, the Enigma. And to crack it because the code would come in scrambled, and it was known as the uncrackable code, and it's how the Nazis were transferring messages to one another to do attacks. And so if they could crack it, they would win the war. This also takes place in two other parts in the time period. So it takes place in 1927, where you also get to see part of young Alan Turing's life, and it takes place in 1951 after the war, where you get to see what's happened to him after the war. He comes up with the idea for the first computer. So if you didn't know, Alan Turing is the guy who came up with the idea for
he's the father of the modern
he's the father of the, which were also known as Turing machines back then. Mm-hmm. And he figured it would take a machine to beat a machine. So he was a homosexual, as they refer to him also in the movie, which was illegal at the time in Britain. And so part of his early childhood, part of his storyline is discovering how he came to terms with that. Someone his first love, and
Christopher.
Yes, who you later find out is what he names his computer after. And then afterwards, it's him basically getting caught and potentially getting to jail. But huge portion of the movie takes place during the World War II period, where he has a hard time relating to the people on the team with him. So much so that early on, he basically gets Winston Churchill to make him the leader. He meets a genius female scientist, mathematician as well, played by Keira Knightley, who he cares for, but because he's gay, he doesn't actually love in that way.
It's a platonic relationship.
It's more of an intellectual relationship between the two.
Yeah, so they understand each other on an intellectual level, so that's how they get each other, and that's what makes that relationship interesting. He basically starts working on his machine. It fails at first, and they discover how to crack the code.
I would say it doesn't fail at first. It just takes so long. You don't find out if it fails or not.
Exactly.
Well, essentially, I think what was happening, it might have been entering a recursive loop or something. It couldn't...
Well, the thing is, it had no point of origin, okay? So it couldn't find, it'd have to go through each and every single possibility. Yeah, and the machine wasn't fast enough to be able to crack it within the 24-hour time period.
When they started off, because it said it didn't work, it wasn't working. It was it just needs more time to do it.
But even then, I think it was going to still take days.
Yeah.
And the code changes
every 24 hours.
At the midnight, then there's always a new code. And then they find out a way to crack the code so that the machine can crack it, the possibilities quicker. And then they have to come up with a way to disseminate the information so that they don't realize that the code is cracked. And in the later timeline, he basically gets caught trying to get someone to play with his ding-dong.
No, the guy did play with his ding-dong, but then the guy tried to rob him.
Oh, okay.
And the police officer found it was strange, and that's how Hinch went after him.
Because that basically starts the whole narrative structure is that he's about to be...
The wrong hunch, no.
So the whole narrative structure is him being interviewed by this police officer.
Hunch.
Yeah.
That's just the wrong idea.
Yeah, he thought he was a Soviet spy, but no, it's just that he likes dick.
In the future, he's under investigation because he is essentially... He's been robbed, and it comes out that he's gay, and so the whole narrative structure is them trying to find out who he was and what did he do during the war, because there's no information on him, kind of thing. And at the end, he pleads guilty. He opts for chemical castration instead of
2 years jail time.
2 years jail time, since he would not be able to work on his beloved machine. And at the end of the movie, you find out that he committed suicide.
Which isn't a spoiler, because this is a true story.
Yeah, so This is one of those based on a true story movies. It's based off also the book Alan Turing, The Enigma, written by Andrew Hodges. Okay, so what were your guys' thoughts on the plot? We'll start with you, Peter.
Alan Turing's life is a unique story to tell. I think what they did in this film was very good. I really enjoyed how they go back and forth in his life to show how he was treated as a young kid, and he was pretty much bullied, and also how he worked in the war, and also his last years of his life being chemically castrated. It's a good film all around. I enjoyed the story. Cumberbatch, he does an Oscar-worthy performance, and I think this movie is very thought-provoking, and it makes you think about what happened during the war, and also some of the events in this film are not 100% accurate, but most films that are based on a true story are not 100% accurate.
Well, there has to be a lot of inferences.
Yeah.
That's why it's based.
Yeah, it's based, but in all, I think it's a great film, and also I really enjoyed this film, and it just shows the side of the war that not many people realize that happens, like breaking code.
I went into this movie not thinking I would like it. When I saw the previews, I had no real want to see it, but I figured since we're talking about the podcast, I might as well see it. I'd do my homework. I actually really liked the movie. I thought it was well acted. I think his younger self played the gay role, the misunderstood person, better than Cumberbatch, but that's just my own opinion. And I also found it like it was a little strange. Like, I feel like they centered on things a little too long on one thing and not on the other. Like, the whole ending with him, like, the robbery, the cop, and all that, I really didn't care for. Like, I know they had to put it into so you could understand the ending.
And also his backstory, going back and forth.
But I liked the backstory. I liked him, but it sort of painted him in, like, not the nicest light either, you know? He was the arrogant mathematician. He doesn't care what other people think. He doesn't really have any friends. And until Keira Knightley came along and sort of, like, saved the day for him and gave him the right suggestions.
He's very antisocial in real life, so...
Yeah.
There's a scene in the movie where he's talking to, his younger self is talking to Christopher, who he names the machine after, about how people always seem to be talking in code because that's how his brain perceives it.
Yeah.
And what Keira Knightley does is essentially gives him the cipher to some extent to help him break that code. And that's why she basically does save the day, but not in that sense. I perceived it as she basically gave him a cipher that he could actually understand on how to use. And put it into his perspective, his terms, because he just wasn't understanding it.
He's very much like Drax the Destroyer. He takes everything literally.
Not really. Maybe like Sheldon.
Yeah.
Big Bad Theory.
Anyways, I really liked it. I still think, like, at the end, that police officer would have been taken out by MI6 after hearing all the government secrets. And, I don't know. I really enjoyed it. I thought the acting was good. I think it's it's a good movie to watch, and it's history. And it was entertaining. But I feel like they focus on some things too long.
Cool. So?
Yeah, I really enjoyed the movie. I actually saw it twice. For very much all those same points you guys brought up. I don't know what else I could add. Performances were great.
Well, we'll get to that.
The story was great.
Yeah.
All around great movie.
Just to add, like, I watched the documentary, I think, did you post, Seb? About where, like, what they actually did for Alan Turing, like, when they had to, like, how they showed what they did to, like, identify boats to save, like, the percentage-wise, where they would have, like, they would be like, oh, before we attack any ship, we'll send out a plane overhead, so they'll be like, damn it, we just got spotted. So that way,
it was
the
all
code would have been
strategy,
found.
pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, well.
Okay,
they had to play God at some point, because...
So as a plot-wise, I think the movie, I like the narrative structure of the movie. So he's essentially kind of recounting these affairs because at the end of the movie you find out they burnt everything. And so like these records exist but don't exist also at the same time. So I find the whole narrative structure very interesting. It's nice to go back and look at how he was always the way he was, but how he got first into cryptography, why the machine is named after who it's named after, the whole process in the middle where he discovers not that he has feelings but how to interpret other people and how they work, even though he doesn't become this social master either he still is that awkward person at the end of the day, but he understands people better and people understand him better. That was all great. I think they actually should have not focused more, but they could have added a bit more. And it's not a short movie, but surprisingly it's still under 2 hours, and I feel like they could have maybe added a few more minutes to further explain some of that 1951 timeline, so his end of days kind of part of his life.
Like, I feel like that was very rushed.
It was very rushed. I agree. I think it was very rushed. And the whole thing about them, the whole strategy part where they're playing God, I think that movie was also, they did it very well in that one scene where they first bring up the lives of the many outweigh the lives of the few. But I feel like they didn't want to go too deep into it because it didn't also kind of work narratively, but you got the emotion they wanted to elicit out of you at that point. Otherwise, I think the story was great. I was pleasantly I wasn't going to say I was surprised going in and think it was going to be a good movie, but I think like it's a good period piece movie as well. It's very nice. It comes in, feels very much like the times, even like the cinematography and the palette colors that they choose for the people, the set design. It felt it fit. It felt well. It felt bleak, but not dark. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It still felt like it was like England, but it didn't feel like it was this dark situation situation that, like,
It was
when they're
very
trying to,
beige.
yeah, which felt very timelessly kind of it.
I remember they weren't like under the same situation as the rest of of like lower England at that point in time.
No, but
They
I'm
were
talking about
pretty safe, yeah.
But that's
what-
the actual
it.
situation. But as a cinematographic choice, they could have gone many different ways with
you
it.
know,
But
when they're showing London, you know, it's all dark and bleak. But then you have them, you know, where
it's a bit lighter, but it still feels dark. It's like it's not like bright and sunny. It's still very like a low light kind of situation.
Yeah,
it's really nice. So I thought that as a plot goes, it was a decent plot. Kept me interested throughout the entire time. It was good to see those full facets of that. I guess we should also move on to the acting.
I just want to say two things before we move on to acting, and that was there was two scenes that I really like. I didn't really feel were good, and the one was when they're in the bar having drinks and having fun, because the scene before it is the guys freaking out because they didn't solve the problem, they didn't crack it in time, and then like, oh, let's go drink and have fun.
No, you have to decompress under such stressful situations.
Which one?
There's multiple.
The one where they crack it afterwards?
No,
while they're drinking?
No, before the cracking. Like, they're trying to break the code earlier on, and they're not getting anywhere, and the guy's getting frustrated, he's throwing his papers, like, your machine's not working, and then the next scene is like, we're going to a bar and drinking.
I'm trying to remember what scene this is.
I think it's like with that old, was it the old person? Was it? I'm trying to remember what scene it was.
Is this before they're about to destroy the machine?
Or before.
We know,
the machine is built, but it's not working yet.
Yeah, they say
let me put it this way. Is it before their month ultimatum, or is it while they're in their month ultimatum?
During their month ultimatum.
No, but
I think it's during the month, though.
okay, I'm depending on the scene, because they leave, the machine's not working, but they're like, well, we're low on time, but they're decompressing by going to drink afterwards.
Yeah, that's it.
Kind of thing.
I don't know. I feel like if you're like super stressed out day in and day out because you have to crack this code, you wouldn't take time off to go drinking.
Yeah, you would actually.
And the second,
you need that change of scenery.
And the second scene I didn't really like is when they're burning the stuff up. Turin is smiling in that scene, and I'm like, throughout the entire show, he's so awkward. This is his baby. This is his machine. This is the one that he named it after his dead lover. He truly like wants this thing, and then he's like, I'm just gonna burn it away.
Well,
happy, smiling face.
He knows.
I think he would have, like, the personality that I got off of him would not be so okay with destroying his life's work, even if it's still in his head.
Well, he got to keep the machine, but I think he destroyed the paperwork by being able to keep his machine.
But he's ordered to burn it all, including the machine.
Well, the thing is, at that point, he knows, like, the main thing is that he knows the machine works, okay? Like, he knows he can recreate it. He does recreate it. It's just that, you know, he got his main mission accomplished. They won the war. You know, obviously there'll be a bit of joy in there. And he knows that he can always reproduce a machine, which he does. He knows the machine works. He knows that what he hypothesized since the beginning is correct. So, like, even if he burns that thing, that's just like the prototype. You know, he's still gonna have the next one, and then one after, he's just gonna improve from that point on.
I was gonna say, it's more like the relief that they won the war, the project is over. Mm-hmm. This was something that was a huge stress in his life. He's proven several theories going on.
I don't know if it was a stress, because he went into it, like maybe near the end it was, but he went into it and he was like, I don't care about the war, I don't care about the Nazis, I don't care about Germany. This is a problem, it's a game, I want to solve games.
Yeah, but he learned throughout that whole entire war that it's not a game, and he did develop attachments to the people that he was working with. He did realize that there are people's lives at stake, and a whole bunch of, like, that kind of thing. So he did humanize himself a bit, and then everything that happens afterward, you show that he kind of goes back. But in that one moment, it's just, everyone was just that release that it's done. It's like when you work on a really big project, it was stressful, it was crazy, you almost killed your friends on it, and then you're done at the end of the day, and you just never kind of want to see it again kind of feeling.
Kind of like our podcast?
Very much like so. Like that, yes.
So that's mostly what I think that, yeah, I can see it, but it's also just minor in the long grand scheme of things.
No, minor in the longer things, I agree, but I just felt a little disconnected those scenes.
Yeah, you're feeling bloated and constipated, but then you finally managed to get that shit out.
So we're going to go on to the acting actors, I guess, right now. I think Benedict Cumberbatch, I guess in any other year, I think it is an Oscar-worthy performance. He does play the character very well. He does go through those ranges of emotions while still keeping those awkward tics that the character would have, the person would have. I still don't know if this year he should have been nominated kind of thing, because I think there was a few other stronger performances, but because it feels like he's playing that demographic also for why it's, how would I put it? I'm not surprised he got nominated because it's like Tom Hanks, or it's like that version of going like playing that role that you know is it's that awkward person that people don't gotta get because he's deficient in a specific area, like either it be
he didn't go full retard.
Yeah, exactly. But he's not like he's like Forrest Gump, who's partially retarded, or
partially.
He's not full on. He's just partially.
No, he was full.
Anyway, that's not the movie we're discussing.
Yeah.
It was partial, and
he whitewashed history. That's what he did.
It doesn't matter. You never go full retard, and this man did not go full retard.
No, but he did. But that's the thing. Like when you think about it, like of course he got nominated for an Oscar because when you look back at people who get nominated, there's always those kinds of roles that they put in, like the less fortunate quote unquote people that it feels like they're kind of like they're tough to act,
but he did such a good job at acting, and that's not an easy thing to act. And I was emotionally attached to the characters by the end of it, so they had to have done something right.
Yeah. No, I think the acting overall is strong. Anyway, this is a completely different discussion.
Who should have brought up instead of Cumberbatch if he don't think he deserves the nomination?
I'd be like, who did not get nominated? You think deserves?
I haven't seen the movies, but there's a few.
But see, nominations don't mean anything. It's a matter of winning. So who was not nominated that you think did a better acting job than Cumberbatch?
I haven't seen the movie yet, but I've just heard stories as well. But when I see it, I see like okay, as someone who's seen a bunch of his stuff too, it wasn't that big of a stretch for him to act like this either.
Well, no, he acted as Sherlock. So
I mean, like I'm saying, it's like this wasn't a big stretch in acting for the guy either.
But I don't know, it's a very big range to go from this guy to Smaug, the Decimus. God. That's a huge range.
Anyway, that's another discussion. I think it's a good performance. I think it was in a strong year. I think they could have maybe added, varied it up. It feels like this is the kind of character, with the deficiency that they always seem to put in, and I feel that's why he got the nomination more than anything.
I think he deserved the nomination.
I think he really did deserve the nomination, okay? During some themes, I really felt, emotionally connected to the character. I've seen a bunch of other movies where, I couldn't really feel, I couldn't really care about the characters. And, to attest to his, acting, the girl that was sitting next to me at the theater, okay, started bawling her eyes out and just crying, weeping and sobbing loudly during the movie.
Okay. So that's a bit much. I honestly think a lot of the emotions that were elicited from characters were not actually from him on the most part, particularly. Like Keith said, a lot of the emotions that come out are the young version. Definitely, he elicited more than Benedict Cumberbatch's version in emotion for that character. I would say that one. Two, Keira Knightley's character elicited a lot more of the emotional responses from me as well as a lot of the staff around him feel like they're the reasons why those emotional moments feel like they hit harder.
See, that's another thing about the movie though, is the young, when he was young, you see him and he's in love with this boy, and you could tell he's gay. During the entire war part and the final part, he says it twice, but you don't actually get the feeling that he's gay. You never see him with a lingering look on another guy. You never see him.
The only part he does something that could be construed as that is in the opening scene where the cops are there, and he basically makes a comment about how that they're ugly cops to him, right?
Yeah.
And then at some point, but the only reason I'm oh right, that's because he's gay, and it's one of those things I have to remind myself of. Yeah, it's not like the movie was shoving it in your face kind of thing, but
the youth part was shoving it in your face, and then he brought it up multiple points, I have to tell this girl, I have to confess, I have to do this, I'm getting blackmailed for this reason. But then they he in his acting he never shows any lingering looks or wants with any.
Yeah, it feels like the only reason that he's gay in later parts is that you know it from the kid version, and two, that people just keep telling you. They keep telling you that he is.
Yeah, so I think I would have preferred a scene with
a dick in the mouth?
Not a dick in the mouth, but you could convey that you're because basically Cumberbatch is playing a straight guy in this movie. He falls in love for the leading lady.
How would I put it?
gay, and then at the end he's like, "No, I can't love you because I'm gay."
How would I put it? The character who actually comes off more as a homosexual in this movie is essentially his best friend, kind of like the best friend guy, Peter. I think it is. Well, the guy you find out later on, spoilers, that he's
Peter Hilton.
Kane Cross, Kate Cross. Anyway, the guy who's the spy, and then who you find out later on is like the spy with the Soviets. He comes off like at points I'm like maybe they're gonna have a relationship because he feels like he gives off way more longing.
Yeah, because he put his hand on his shoulder and stuff.
He gives way more longing looks. He's the one who has those lingering looks. He looks like he's kind of like they might have had a kind of thing, but that feels more than friends kind of thing. And then he feels like he was, whereas Benedict Cumberbatch still doesn't come off as it.
No, I didn't really get that feeling from him.
Yeah, so that's another thing. But
I think, like, what Keith is trying to say, I understand, but, like, during that time, I think Turner, in general, pretty much, like, Cumberbatch playing Turner had to hide his emotion, not, like, express his homosexuality, but keep it hidden because pretty much get prosecuted, so it's like...
It was a crime, Yeah,
it was
but
a crime back then.
there's a difference between looking at someone for a scene in a movie and then acting on those looks, right?
Yeah, like I said, it's like I said with the guy, right?
Yeah.
The friend that he makes during the whole process. The one guy who was put in there because they knew what he was.
Yeah.
He actually, like I said, he comes off as such without actually being in your face about it, but he still gives that impression that he is. Honestly,
like, I really didn't get that vibe from him. I just thought he was like a person that actually...
I got the slight vibe, and I feel like they sort of gave that away when Turning felt comfortable enough to confess to him of his homosexuality. And he was like, you can't tell anyone else that. And I was like, maybe they're going to hook up. And then...
Yeah, I had that moment that maybe they kind of will in the future, but it felt like he was giving more of that emotional response for that. But like I said, a lot of at the time, I don't think Benedict Cumberbatch as Turing, I feel a lot of the emotional responses aren't elicited by him. I feel that he prompts other characters who give you the performance that elicits the emotion they're looking for. Personally, that's how I felt when I was watching the movie, right? Because, like in the scene where they crack the code and they realize that they could save a boat of people, but they risk letting out that they cracked the machine, and that most of that emotions come from the guy who realizes his brother is on that boat, and I elicits the more of the response than I think Turing's does.
Yeah, but I didn't really care much about like that scene. Okay, I knew the guy was going to be emotional and all that. Let me just say, like, I didn't really care much because I knew I wanted to see how Cumberbatch was going to react. Okay, or not react actually, because he had to think about it logically. He's cold and calculating, so I want to see how he portrays that. Okay. Cold and calculating aspect compared to like everyone else around him that's emotional. The thing is, he played that part well, the cold and calculating part, and that's why I find he deserves the Oscar nod at least.
Yeah, but that's not the question anymore. That's not the discussion anymore.
No, I know, but just like I know you're trying to say like how he elicits everyone else's emotion. It's because of his performance that other people can bring these emotions out.
All the cast members worked really well together.
No, there was a good chemistry because you have to remember, like, he's the main actor. He's the main, and he makes sure that everyone else around him can elicit the emotions and like the feel of the movie.
It had good directing.
I think it was more of the directing on that one.
No, I know, but like if you have a bad main character and then everyone else around, is getting all emotional, you don't feel the chemistry. You don't feel like it's realistic. I think in this case, because of the way he acted and the way everyone else around him reacted, even if it's all director, obviously, was just like if the main character can't elicit those emotions out of the other people, I think he doesn't deserve it.
Should we mention how they cracked the code?
I guess we'll get to that point.
Yeah. Hitler.
So, and when you look back on this and when you think about it, it's like, why didn't they realize it sooner? So they're drinking after they are given an ultimatum of a month to crack the code using the machine. Otherwise, they are basically fired out of the job and whatnot.
They got like 1 month to figure out the code.
So it's later on in the 1 month. Like you assume it's like week 3, week 4 kind of thing. Like there's a few days left, a week to a few days left. and they're just drinking because it's a long day. They still haven't figured out anything, and they're just basically drinking their sorrows away. And they go to a bar, and Keira Knightley's talking to one of the typists who writes down the codes. In a sort of matchmaking process, she sort of lets it slip, or she lets it slip. I guess not in the sense like she was hiding it, but it just kind of comes out that it feels like she intimately knows the person who's typing the code on the other side, because each typist gets assigned one person, and that elicits a response. So
because he always starts his message the same way.
Yeah, so she was like, so if there's a reoccurring Latin word, then they can use that. And then they realize that every transmission ends with Heil Hitler.
Every morning
transmission.
Morning transition starts with the weather and Hail Hitler.
Heil Hitler. Exactly. So they use that to crack the code, and then subsequently they figured out to crack the machine each day, and then that's how they cracked the code. And it was by pure happenstance too.
But to be fair, the guy should have made the bet, because Alan Turing did ruin the date.
No, he said it was no bet.
Yeah, he said, but I say he should have made the bet.
He couldn't, because the first guy bet on the obvious bet. $5 says, or the equivalent, like $5 says he messes up, and the other guy's like, there's no bet there. If I bet the other way, it's obviously I'm going to automatically lose. And he did. So that's why he said no bet. No point in taking a bad bet.
But it was really a eureka moment.
Yes. And when you think back on it, it's like, why did they never think about that kind of thing?
Well, it's the kind of thing that might slip the mind.
No, I know. It's one of those things like when you look back on it, hindsight is 20/20, right? But I'm just looking, I'm like, wait a minute, that kind of makes sense when you think about it. Why didn't anyone think about it? But cinematography, as we discussed, beautiful cinematography.
Yeah.
Nothing like epic craziness, but just in the simplicity of it and the choice of lighting and color palettes, it worked and it felt great. And I really thought the cinematography was good for this movie.
Good set design as well.
Yeah, and good set design. It felt very much like the different time periods, and it felt like you were in sort of different time periods. It also helps that there were different locations. The soundtrack for this movie, actually, I liked it. Yes, yes, I liked the soundtrack a lot. Actually, I thought it worked. It was there, but not too abrasive, like not in your face, kind of there. So, but it felt like you could still hear it, but it didn't like blend into the background. Like, oh my god.
It was always in the background playing, but it didn't like overtake any specific scene.
I like the fact that the music sounded very classical. Like, it sounded like from the time. It didn't feel like overly poppy, which is most movies now.
No, but when you do a period piece,
I know.
You kind of have to do that.
Or in your face, like Lord of the Rings. No, not Lord of the Rings. I mean The Hobbit, where it was all soundtrack and sweeping landscapes.
Yeah, but I actually liked it. The little bit that they did, it felt Holmesian in a bit. Some of that, like the instrument choices they used. But yeah, I thought it was a good soundtrack for the movie. Like, the score really worked with the movie. It didn't feel like it was doing anything abrasive.
It set moods.
Yeah, but not like, how did I put it? It wasn't very much like, like there's some soundtracks or like scores where they obviously put the "you must feel bad" here, and there's the happy. This felt like a very consistent.
It was all undertones.
Yeah. Like, it wasn't like telling you how to feel.
It was like this. The overall arc seemed darker, movier, and then it had slightly increases for like the joyous moments, but the overall music didn't change much.
It essentially felt like they knew that the actors were going to elicit the emotions they wanted. That the soundtrack could just be its own thing.
But the entire soundtrack I felt was somber. It wasn't. It was all
given the subject matter.
Yeah, but it was the right choice.
It's a great soundtrack. It's a period piece, and it didn't overtake the film like some other time period films, but it was in the background enough. It just reminded the viewers that the soundtrack's playing, and it's nice and subtle.
Any other thoughts on the movie you guys would like to bring up?
I just think we should give a shout out to the other actors and actresses too. We talked about how Cumberbatch was great, but
most of my discussion.
But like Keira Knightley nailed it. That spy guy nailed it.
Oh, the MI6 spy?
MI6.
Yes.
Yeah. Even the general who hated Turin, like, you could taste the vitriol sometimes.
You could taste the Lannister out of it.
Yeah. He was basically playing his Lannister, Mark Strong, I think.
Yeah.
He was basically playing the Lannister. Okay, so we'll just go briefly through the cast, right? So Benedict Cumberbatch is Alan Turing. He did a good job. There's no question there, right?
This was the Oscar nod.
Keira Knightley, she wasn't playing Keira Knightley, kind of thing like she normally does. But she she
was a really good supporting actress. Like, I felt like Keira Knightley usually tries to be the lead, the main. Yeah. And this one, she was really supporting. Like, she was like... Yeah. She was spot on and she wasn't taking the limelight.
Yeah, but she took enough of it. Like, you know what I mean? She inserted herself to the right amount, and I think that might also be directing. Like, I think definitely she was there, and you could tell that she was like Alan Turing, but a more well-adjusted Alan Turing to some extent. So that was really nice about a character. Exactly.
And I really like the scene where her and Alan Turing are at her house, and he's trying to convince her to come, and she's using the codes to get him to be like, I'm not staying in a house with a bunch of dudes. And he was like,
it would be indecorous. Yeah. Matthew Good is Hugh Alexander, who starts off as
a jerk.
Well, he's basically the womanizer of the group. He starts off as the leader of the project, who wouldn't like listen to Turing kind of thing, but understandably so. Who then becomes his friend as it goes along because of Keira Knightley's advice. They all kind of do. Yeah. Well, but he was the hardest one, I guess you could look at to turn around because he had the most hate against him to some extent.
I think he's like. He was great in the fact that, like, you can sense that he really wanted to save lives. He really... He was like, why are you... He couldn't understand at all why Alan Turing would be sitting there in the machine. He
realize there was no way they could break the code by themselves, you know?
That was
like years.
But that's also, like, it could be just ego, right?
That's it. Like, he was the lead, you know? He wanted to find the solution through his, like, old method, you know, by hand and all that.
I mean, some of his, like, throwing stuff off at midnight was a little over-dramatized, but...
Well, it could also be understandable.
But super
if you're
understandable.
Not sleeping as much as these guys were probably not sleeping very much for extended periods of time.
6 to 12, 6 to noon, midnight, they were probably there.
Yeah, and you can imagine lack of sleep. You do some crazy things when you're tired, really tired. Mark Strong as the Major General.
Yeah,
so good.
He plays his douche mode fairly well. He's very sarcastic, and he does that also very well when he first comes in.
And really the rest.
Well, sorry, my bad. Mark Strong is no, my bad. Mark Strong is the
General Stewart.
He's a spy. He's a spy. Mark Strong is my bad, the spy, who you don't even realize is in the room until he starts talking, and you're like, wait, what? He was there?
MI6. Wait, it stops at MI5.
There's only 5 branches of military intelligence. Exactly. So he was a good character.
And like he just had lines like, "You're turning into the man that I always hoped you would be."
Yeah. He played off this. He was playing this very how do I play it?
Cold, calculating.
He was cold and calculating, but very aloof and like playing the field, knowing he has all the answers to some extent.
And he's always like a few steps ahead of everyone else.
He really was like, this is James Bond in charge of MI6. You know, he was just like,
So that was pretty cool. Charles Dance doing his best Lannister impression, sarcastic but still like those Lannister stares. Alan Leach, who was John Cancross, the guy who I mentioned had a connection with Turing. He seemed like the most, how do I put it, okay with his proclivities. He tried to be he was the first guy to try to be nice to him and things like that.
Funny, he plays a communist here, and he plays a communist in Downton Abbey.
It's all connected.
That's it.
Matthew Beard as the young Peter Hilton. So he's the young guy of the group.
His role was...
It was minor, but it was mostly to elicit that emotional response.
He had the one scene, but I wasn't connected to him at the beginning to even have like...
Yeah, I didn't really care
for his scene.
Or his brothers.
No, I think they bring it up. They sprinkle it so that when it does come, it's not out of nowhere.
No, but
because you already know that he has brothers.
I would say him and the guy that came on at the same time as Keira Knightley had the least...
Yeah, he just came in and out of the film. He disappeared for large chunks.
Like, I was just like, these two characters, I felt like...
They were really just there.
They were just there because they were probably there in real life. They weren't really, like...
No, honestly...
I didn't feel like it added to the movie.
Well,
especially the guy that came with Keira.
No, the guy who came with Keira Knightley was just there.
Yeah.
The Peter guy was there before. He does have lines throughout the movie. And so he starts off as like, we're going for who's hungry. So he has that line where he basically asks him for soup. Yeah. So he's like the bitch of the group kind of thing. And then later on, when the Hugh Alexander, the guy who's throwing the bottles and the wrenches and all that, he's like, look, we all have a stake in this. I have family in there.
Yeah.
And when his like, realization comes of what boat's about to be attacked, it's not this like kind of thing, but it's
an emotional scene.
No, but I think he plays it out very well. He does the...
Well, he plays the emotion with his...
Well, it's like when you realize something like that. It's not something that you go, oh my god. It's the kind of thing that you realize it slowly. Wait a minute, that sounds familiar.
He did his job well.
Yeah, and I think
I'm saying up until that point, I had no connection to him whatsoever.
Well, you weren't supposed to, because you're just supposed to know he's a part of the group, and that his emotional scene does still actually work because it does feel like a real person would react to that kind of situation. And then we have the future timeline. So we have Rory Kinnear as the detective.
What an asshole detective! I didn't like him.
Seriously.
And
but at least he was forward and he does his job.
He was a good character.
He had a hunch and he was taking it to.
The thing is, like, he's trying to find something bad about it, but in the end, he just ruined an innocent man's life.
He followed his gut.
Good job.
I kind of like the detective character. He was pretty much the audience diving into Turik's life and see what was adding up, what wasn't fitting. And he also mentioned about the Imitation Game and see, like, will he able to figure out Turnik's life?
I agree. What I liked about the character is that he was just a guy doing his job, and he didn't actually come off like a douchebag. He was just curious because he was being a good detective.
Yeah.
When you look at it, it's like, well, like when the other guy is there, the constable is like, well, he acted like he wanted us out of there because he was hiding something. Doesn't that seem weird to you? He's like, no, I just want to leave, kind of thing. The other guy. All the things.
How history would have changed if they didn't just leave him alone.
And the question is, like, at the end of Alan Turing is asking to be judged, right? He's trying to get someone to tell him that he's either human or a machine, and the detective realizes that he can't judge someone like that, realizing the gravity of whatever he says next.
Yeah.
And like I said, everyone in this movie is just superb acting in this movie.
Yeah.
Then we have young Turing, who
so good.
He should have gotten a supporting actor nod for that.
So good.
Yeah,
like his emotions, the way he acts, the mental affectations that he pulls off. It's just like, I'm looking forward to what this kid does in the future, kind of thing.
All the scenes were very heartbreaking to see him getting bullied, and also seeing develop his feelings for Chris, and then comes to a sad realization that Chris is dead.
Yeah, like his roles were, that was a hard role, and that kid nailed it.
Yeah. Then we have Jack Bannon as Christopher. Also decent, but
he's a good kid, you know.
But between the two, he's
Christopher had like a
weaker.
very, very limited role in the movie, but he played a important part in Turing's life.
His life. Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
He basically introduced him to like coding or
cryptography.
Sorry about that.
And then we have the parents. They were okay, but they acted their role very decently. Like the whole like prim and proper British family.
Yeah, it's like very minor.
Yeah. Then we have Helen Tumpence.
I'm pretty sure we've gone through.
No, but I'm just going through these quick. Tumpence Middleton, the girl. So
who spilled the beer?
Yeah. No, she got beer spilled on her.
Wasted beer.
Nonetheless.
Jack Goodis. Oh, yeah. The forgettable guy.
Well, let's say we're in very minor character territory right now.
So, but even then, honestly, like, we'll put it this way. Even the minor characters still do some decent amount
they did their job.
No, they actually, like, they all acted very well.
Yeah.
Like, even...
Which is their job, to act very well.
No, but even the extras to some extent, right? Like, when you're looking at some of those extra scenes...
Yeah, especially
security guards
when they're showing the cross puzzles, you know, they're like, yeah, we're doing this.
No, but you could feel like they were giving off that impression. Like, I know you're joking and whatnot, but it actually felt like even the extras were giving off the actual emotions that you're supposed to, while the music also played.
Hopefully, all these extras also have a fulfilling career ahead of them.
Final thoughts on the movies. We're gonna start with you, Seb.
Fantastic movie all around. I believe it deserves the Oscar nod for best film. I believe it deserves the Oscar nod for best actor. He's not going to win because Michael Keaton just did a superior job, but I find that out of the movies I saw, it's definitely high up there for this year. Well, 2014.
I really like this movie. I went in with no expectations, and it blew me away. The acting was superb. I think they deserve an award. I don't know which award, but they should get something for it.
Well, maybe
and I think if you haven't seen this movie, you should. It's definitely worth a watch. It's not the easiest movie to watch, I find.
It was, I don't know, it was fairly easy watch.
It's easy, it's easy to watch.
It's not violent, but I don't know, I found it very emotional.
It's not a complex story, it's just very straightforward.
It's not something, if you're looking for a lighthearted film, this is not it. No. What? Expect an emotional response.
Yes.
Actually, I was gonna say, it is very lighthearted, other than a lot of it is played very lightheartedly.
The suicide, the chemical castration,
The death of his childhood friend.
The fact that
the death of people's families.
The fact that he has to play God and choose who lives and dies for the next couple of years. But apart from that, it was a lighthearted story for sure. Very heartwarming.
I think you should see this film. I think it's good. I liked it, and this is not a B movie. This is a non-B movie that Keith approve of. That's like a record or something.
This is an A movie for Keith, man. And
so
it's doing really well.
Y'all should see it.
Pretty much, I heard a lot of good word of mouth about this film, but my expectations for this film are very low. But after watching this movie, I think it deserves to be nominated for all the Oscars, and it's one of the best films of the year.
Yeah,
so definitely the best film we saw in 2015.
2014.
Well, he saw it in 2015.
Okay, but before I go, I'm really interested for like the Blu-ray or DVD release, see if there's like any extra footage or deleted scenes that were shot. See, like maybe there was like some parts about Turning's life that weren't mentioned in the movie, but had enough time for the DVD or Blu-ray.
Oh, for sure. There's definitely going to be like short documentaries, special features.
Like deleted scenes or some kind of like extras.
No, but I'm saying like there'll be deleted scenes. There's going to be for sure short documentaries and like actual features on like the guy, the life, and the time period and things like that. So especially depending on who releases it.
But full price. Just go out, and this movie's worth every single penny. And
it's definitely a Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday movie.
It's a movie for your lifetime.
That's not how our rating system works, but we'll get to ratings shortly. I definitely enjoyed this movie. I knew going into that it was going to be a good movie. It was, how would I put it? When I say lighthearted, they play a lot of the situations a lot more lightheartedly than you think they would for something dealing with World War II. It's not all about the blood, the gore, the bleakness of life, but there is
it's not Fury.
There is a gravity there, but when you think about it, there is a gravity to the situation there, but they play there's a lot of funny moments in this movie. It feels like a very lighthearted in that sense war movie, because they're looking at a more lighthearted part of life.
That's it. They're showing the other side of the war. Not the front line where everybody's getting killed in the trenches and all that, but the side that is relatively safe.
Yes, exactly. So in that regard, yes, it is a lighthearted movie. It does deal with heavy matter for sure, but between the heavy matter parts, there are a lot of light moments. It's not, how would I put it? It's a drama in one sense, but it's not it's not a heavy drama like just like the whole situation is always going to be bleak. It feels very much like a lighter drama kind of thing. Like this movie could easily play on television and not have anything removed because of graphic nature or themes.
Depending where in the States they might remove.
No, other than the fact that he's a homosexual. But other than that, it feels like a very, like, not family friendly, but it is a PG movie. It's a very accessible movie to everybody.
Can watch.
Because exactly. The acting was great. The soundtrack and score was good. The cinematography was good. You should definitely go out and see this. I don't see any reason why you shouldn't. So we're gonna give ratings.
I'll give it 10 out of 10. This movie's worth every single penny to own it on DVD or Blu-ray, and I think it's great filmmaking.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
I give it 4.5 out of 5 Hail Hitlers because that's the only German word you need to know.
You know what? 5 out of 5 Enigmas. Definitely, it's definitely a really good movie, and I really enjoyed everything about it.
And I'll give it 9.5. No, just 9.
Oh, what a hater.
Same score as mine, as long as it's out of 10.
I guess I'll give it 9 Turing machines out of 10. Definitely go out and see it. Should at least see this kind of movie once. It's fun, minus the subject matter sometimes.
And chemical castration and suicide.
Yeah,
that's subject matter.
And the little memo at the end where it tells you about how many people got persecuted for, was it perversion?
So join us in our next segment where we'll be giving you our info.
Hey, this is Anthony Bowling, voices of such characters as Yuka in Fairy Tail, Ukyo in Samurai 7, and Alciel in The Devil is a Part-Timer, along with many, many more. And right now you are listening to Geeking Out at the Tower podcast.
And that was episode 11 of Geeking Out at the Tower podcast, where we had an extended Geeking Around segment and a discussion on the movie The Imitation Game starring Benedict Cumberbatch. As usual, you can send us an email at goattcast@gmail.com. You can send us a tweet on Twitter at goattcast. You can follow us on Facebook. Give us a like. start discussions on our episode topics. Let us know what you would like to hear or what we said wrong or craziness like that. And that is at facebook.com/GOATTcast. You can also find all this information on our website at goattcast.wordpress.com. So Seb, have you made that Instagram yet?
Yes, you can follow us on Instagram at GOATTcast.
Awesome. Am I forgetting any social media?
MySpace, ICQ.
No.
You can follow our OkCupid profile.
Oh God, no. Oh God, no.
Oh, what about the Plenty of Fish profile?
Anyway, I was your host Andrew, and today I was joined by
Wendell.
Keith.
Kevin.
Peter.
Thanks for listening and have a good time.
Alright.
And that's a wrap, folks. Oh, by the way, Seb, so what I was saying about a podcast, there has to be a bit of a narrative structure.
I lied.